The following is a Podbeard production.
EST 2016. This is interviews, music reviews, opinions, and more. This is The Hotter Show.
What's up, everybody? We are rolling audio here today on episode 239 of The Hotter Show. I hope you guys are doing absolutely fantastic. Thanks so very much for tuning in and clicking that play button on today's episode of the podcast. Real quick, before we say anything else, I do apologize if I sound very weird right now. Unfortunately, my Mac that I use to edit the show and stuff has apparently died on me. So, in order to get this episode out this week, I'm really pulling out all the stops and really making it happen. But I do apologize if the intro and outro sound weird. The main portion of the show was done on the Mac on Skype, so it should sound just fine. And it is a freaking hasty episode that I know you guys are going to thoroughly enjoy, as I have on, well, mind you, bestie, Mr. Kyle Hohmann of the Crease Rule, man. It is a badass chat. We talk about his humble beginnings in Bowmanville, Ontario, Canada, touring life as a hired gun, what really got him into music, his influences, starting off playing all over, and how that has kind of influenced his look on the music industry, as well as, you know, his upbringing, learning piano and learning organ, and how that influences playing. And then, of course, we talk about his media company that started a few years ago in the city, the difference between living in the city and living in Muskoka, up in cottage country. And then, of course, starting the Crease Rule, the single three-way stop, which we also hear in our entirety, and so much more. We just have a lot of fun, a lot of laughs. It's nearly 2 hours of great content that I know you guys are going to thoroughly enjoy. I'm not going to waste any more time on this intro because we have a lot of ground to cover, but stick with me to the outro for all my shout-outs and all that fun stuff. Let's get into it. So if you live in the Clarington, Durham Region, Bowmanville area, you probably know about a little intersection that is just the shits. And my guest at this time's band just dropped a new single just about a week ago or so now as we record this, and it is catching fire. He was just on Global TV, and I believe as well as CTV, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm very excited to have him on here. He's a hometown guy from where I live as well, so we're very excited. Ladies and gentlemen, from the Crease Rule, Mr. Kyle Hohmann. Kyle, what's up, brother? How you doing?
Thanks, man. I had to do my own my little fireworks intro, man. I'm sitting alone in my living room right now, so I'm trying to hype myself up. This is great.
Well, it's funny because like we were just shooting the shit for a minute as I was checking levels, and the amount of how much, like, there's only a couple of years age difference between us, and like the amount of things that you have said and that I said that we kind of triggered each other as far as like our upbringing. It's like, yo, this is hilarious.
I know, man. Small world, dude. Small, like, just I feel like we might have crossed paths at least 50 to 100 times in our childhood.
Oh, probably. I'm sure. I find that's what's funny about this podcast, man. Like you mentioned, you know, like Tijuana Jesus, for example, and Brandon. I believe Brandon's still playing with them. Brandon Cox, the drummer. Like I went all throughout school with him.
Really?
I haven't talked to him in a minute. So,
but
Brandon, if you listen to this, what's up, buddy? But it's just funny.
You know what? I still have to meet that guy. Like, I hear he's a beauty. My buddy Luke Hill here says he's a beauty, and my buddy James Gorey, like those guys and Matt, they did the whole Tijuana, started that up, and they said he's a great guy. So Brandon, I can't wait to meet you on Thursday, pal.
That's gonna be a good show.
It might be greasy. Might get a little greasy.
Well, just since we're on that, what's that upcoming show? Why don't let's just plug that now as we're talking about it.
Yeah, so this Thursday in Kensington Market, downtown Toronto, we are celebrating the release of we're celebrating the three-way stop. Handlebar. It's a bar called Handlebar, and it was a pretty convenient arrangement, essentially. The boys in Tijuana Jesus and Town Brewery were collaborating to do kind of a little feature night for the brewery in Toronto, and it kind of just like light bulbed in our heads, like, dude, we should celebrate the EP as well because the timing's perfect. And I was like, great, like this is excellent. I mean, Handlebar is, it's not large, I'll tell you. So it's going to be a punk show. It's going to feel like a punk show. If you've ever been to one as a kid, it's going to be greasy, and there's going to be craft beer. Yeah, and you got to make sure you lock your doors if you're parking in Kensington at that time. It's going to be awesome. Just a coin toss between life and death, like our three-way stop in Bowmanville. So
a true punk show. And so as you guys are hearing this interview, actually, because this will come out Thursday morning, get your asses there because it's happening tonight.
Oh, buddy.
That'd be a good freaking show, man. Damn.
Good pitch, man.
Yeah, I try. I've been doing this a long time, son. So
good pitch, bro. Oh, bro.
I mean, no big deal. I've been called the Joe Rogan of the Ontario music scene before. No big deal or anything.
Holy shit, that's pretty. Now that you're on my radar,
yeah, Yeah, right. That's how it goes. Oh, I never heard of you, but now that I have, damn, man, that's
man.
I just everybody that was a joke. Relax,
guys. He's kidding.
I'm the big deal.
He's kidding.
There's always that one guy every time I say something like that. They're like, "Oh, you got a big head, bro," and I'm like, "Man, come on, like for real, seriously."
I've heard some of your conversations, and I think that you could, if you wanted to, jump in for about half to maybe 2 rounds with Joe Rogan. I think you'd survive.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Man.
You know what I mean? Except, yeah. Anyways.
Until he starts asking about DMT and shit, then I'm like, all right.
All right.
Part ways,
I thought this was about angels and airwaves, bro.
The fuck?
I didn't think this was about... Yeah.
That's fucking great.
I know, right?
Oh, man. Fuck. But you had mentioned, how obviously the celebrating of the single, and we're definitely going to talk about that a little bit later because I want to save that because we have a lot that we want to talk about here today with you. But speaking of, this being a classic punk show, and if you've been to punk shows before and that, I always love to talk to guys about this, especially guys I don't really know. Like, this is obviously the first time we're actually talking. What was kind of the first music that you heard and that you really that started influencing you into, hey, I want to play music. I want to get more into music?
Ooh, that's a good call. So, growing up, I had a very mathematical and classical influence to music. My mom's an organist, and my dad, his dad was a piano tuner. So I was very quickly introduced to just all derivatives of keyboard stuff, piano stuff, synth stuff. When I got older, my mom, she would have me up beside the organ in church, and I'd kind of watch her use her feet and her hands. And I don't think that spread to me having heavy influences necessarily later. I think it was more just the harmonics and melodies and how things are built together with music that allowed me to like certain bands from the get-go. So I was definitely into punk rock, but I was definitely into, prog metal and the Dream Theaters. And I was into a lot of, as music got heavier over the years, I was into the hardcore. And I did the whole thing where I thought breakdowns during the whole song were sweet. And you know what I mean? But I enjoyed the classical guitar. I like the pickup jazz. So that's just kind of what I like in general. I'm a big music fan. I mean, I have a hard time with top 40 pop some days because I just, I have a hard time finding creativity in it. But I think a lot of it for me started with, I think maybe Americana by The Offspring. That was one of my early, just when I was young enough to kind of understand what was going on with the guitar. And then that spread to The Decline by NoFX. That was a huge game changer for me. So Long and Thanks for All the Shoes. That album really changed my life. So NoFX, and then I started realizing holy shit, there's this band called Green Day that does this too.
Yeah.
And then as we got a little older, I really enjoyed playing guitar and kind of combining what I learned on piano all those years, and that's where I kind of got into the punk metal stuff, where you could still thrash and you could still kind of bring the heat and keep it straightforward, but you can play a little bit with your guitars and that. And we grew up in Durham Region, right? So we had bands like Protest the Hero. As they emerged onto the scene, that erupted a huge community of guys like me that love to play guitar, but also love to write good songs. And bands like the Human Abstract they were a fucking wicked band. A lot of classical influence. I'm trying to. Obviously there was the Lamb of Gods. There's, oh my God. You know what I'm going to do? If you have a minute, I'm just going to open up my iTunes library because I actually have a really old list. I'm not going to play.
Oh, I would love that. No, I'd love to chat about that because there's a few things. While you do that, there's a few things that you said that kind of triggered my brain. One of which, it's funny you say all that because listening to your guitar playing, you sound like, I mean, obviously you're, I hear that punk metal style where it's punk. There's no denying it's punk, but it's got some balls to it. It's got some, it's not just the same, 3 chords and the truth. It's very, there's more to it. There's a little bit more oomph in there, but then also the melodies and the harmonic stylings that you learned, like you were saying, watching your mom play organ and play piano, and then you yourself playing a little bit. I feel like that's kind of carried over, and I find some of the best songwriters in the metal and punk world have that background because there's something to be said about, like, as someone who, like, my mom was actually a piano teacher as well, so that's just kind of funny you said that. But
Jesus, man.
However, I went the opposite way where I was like, I'm not going to learn any of that stuff. I just want to drop D, man. Fuck, I don't need to learn
drop D so you can really fuck shit up easier and quicker.
I was like, I'm going to tune down the drop B before I even know how to play guitar.
Fuck you, Mom. Fuck you, Dad. Listen to this. Man, I had that happen. That happened to me.
For sure. It always happens. But it's just funny, like, hearing that was kind of your upbringing as far as your style of playing guitar. It's just so funny because I find I can almost pick that out now, where it's like, okay, there's more, with all due respect to people who don't know the theory or understand the melody and things of that nature. On more of a theory base, I find that people that do, you can tell, you can pick it out because there's certain passages and notes that they would put together that, like, you got to know what you're doing to understand that.
I can appreciate what you're saying right now. I think the Crease Rule could have gone either way. I mean, I have like a folders upon folders of hardcore metal and metal and hardcore and shred and I thought to myself, like, what is the Crease Rule? And I think over the years, I've played a ton of different genres and I've been in a lot of different situations that require, like, me learning how this guitar would sound in this situation. And I think when I sat down and I started writing Crease Rule songs, I decided, like, this is going to be a band that we're just going to share. We're going to share some honest fucking stories. And in the process, though, we're going to try our best to share these fucking stories with a little bit of a sharper edge. And we're going to make sure that when we're not singing or saying something stupid, or I'm not fucking going off about some fucking irrelevant thing and making people smile a little bit, that the guitars are pretty even with the fucking drums, and that you're gonna hear a little bit. It's gonna flex your mind a little bit, make you think a little bit in terms of, like, whoa, what's he doing with that? Like, I'm trying to share stories with the music and kind of with the lyrics.
Yeah.
But it's more about the punk rock songs. Like, you can tell it's more about the songs right now. But I'm going to add as much color and essence to them as I can. So.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think that, don't get me wrong, folks, with what I just said, the Crease Rule to me is still, and I say this with all the goodness and love and respect in the world, the Crease Rule is still, to me, it's just good old greasy punk rock. Like, still, it has that, but then there's also another layer to it.
Yeah. Oh, it was really funny. Like, recording the Crease Rule was a lot of fun because it was like, well, I mean, we could try to kind of mock and mimic, these typical pop punk and punk rock kind of walls of guitar, and I said, like, well, why don't we dig up, like, an angle cabinet, and why don't we grab, like, we'll grab an orange or a Black Star type sound here, and then we'll grab a Telecaster with a Vox, and let's see if we can kind of merge the two together and make sure that when people are listening to the rhythms and the guitars kind of working together, like, I want them to be able to bob their heads a little bit, grit their teeth a little bit while they're enjoying, maybe the hooks are a little, I try to write poppy hooks like anyone would, but I don't want to stray too far and make it too cheese,
For sure. There's a happy medium. I believe it was Dave Grohl who said it. Actually, I know it was Dave Grohl who said it. I always say I
love Dave Grohl,
I'm like,
bro.
no,
Are we
I know
best
it was
friends?
him.
Did we become best friends? Jeez.
Yep.
All right.
That's great.
Let's turn the beds into bunk beds so there's more room for activities.
I can't think of any more quotes from them right now. Shit.
I know. Well,
bro, I didn't see that movie until like a year ago.
I'm not calling him dad.
He better not get in my face. I'm gonna kick his ass.
Yeah, he's gonna kick his ass. Why are you all sweaty? I was watching Cops. Cops isn't on until 4:00. Oh man.
Oh shit, that's great.
Oh,
that's great.
Dude.
Well, before we go too much, you were pulling up a list, and I'm curious as shit to hear that list there. I'm just
all right. So I mean, let's we got the Distillers, we got Flogging Molly, we got the Flatliners, we got Every Time I Die,
nice.
we got 4 Year Strong. See, like I really Gob's one of my favorite bands of all time. I don't know if
that's fucking. Oh, I know. Man, it's funny you say that because literally just like a few weeks ago, I'm sitting there playing guitar and I quote unquote wrote this riff and I was like, yo, this sounds like 6 guitars are playing this. What the fuck? This is awesome. And I'm sitting there playing it and like, I'm all hyped. And then I sent it to my buddy and he's like, I've heard that before somewhere. I'm like, no, man, I just wrote it. And it turns out it was We're All Dying by Gob.
Yeah, man, that song.
Which is like, oh, that fucking. And I was like, I forgot how much I love. So I'm sitting there playing it, and I'm like, whatever. I just learned how to play We're All Dying by Gob. All right, cool. Good day.
That's hilarious. I think, you know what? I think my first CD was Follow the Leader by Korn. I realize that now. That was my first one. I really enjoyed Korn for a little while. It's kind of corny to say that.
Oh, shit.
There was, I was.
You guys thought I made bad puns. Come on.
Guys,
That's
I'm going to
great.
get hung for this one. Kill Switch Engage, they were a big one. I'm like a huge soft spot for piano written pop and rock. So I was a fan of this guy from LA named Texas, Bryce Avery is in a band called The Rocket Summer. It's kind of his project. He is a huge influence. And Fall Out Boy, I am a huge Fall Out Boy guy just because of the hooks. Like they are the master of hooks, you know? Fuck, I could go for days, man. Like the Dirty Nil. Like I am a huge Dirty Nil fan. Known them. I've actually known their presence in the scene since day one. My friend Katie Clark. She used to manage underground operations. She's like, you gotta listen. Back then, she's like, you gotta listen to these kids from Hamilton. They're called the Dirty Nil, and I'm like, that sounds stupid. And then we went and saw their show. And they wrote the song called "Fucking Up Young," and we were at the Bovine. I don't know how many years ago it was, and the Bovine was fucking ran with these kids from down where they were from, and a bunch of Toronto people. I heard the song for the first time, and it honestly made me believe in rock and roll again. It was awesome, man. I'm sorry to stray off on you here, but
this is great. That's fantastic.
Do you like Darkest Hour? You ever listen to Darkest Hour?
Not a ton. But like I'm more of a metal guy. So like you saying like Kill Switch Engage, I'm like shit. Like that's
yeah. A little Kill Switch is good for the heart, you know. Little Kill Switch, like End of Heartache, that changed a lot of the games for a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Flatliners, Toronto boys, fucking they're consistently the best punk rock band in Canada, I'd say. Like I could say that over and over. They are the best. Haste the Day. Did you ever listen to Haste the Day?
Haste the Day, shit. Yeah. I haven't heard that name in years.
Fuck, man. Haste the Day, they fucked hard. He Is Legend. Do you ever listen? Like He Is Legend is one of the most fucked up bands I've ever heard in my entire life, and they continue to put out albums that get darker and darker and darker, but they combine metal and rock and roll. So they find a way to have metal riffs and drum fills and patterns that but still rock and roll. I don't understand how they do it. Oh geez, I could go for days, man.
Well, it's funny because one thing that you had mentioned that I'm hearing as you're talking about like some music that you like and even like still to this day, and I was kind of mentioning it before we went off there about Step Brothers, which is
sorry, bro.
That's like something that Dave Grohl actually said, which was great music, great rock music and stuff that's on the radio. It's like it's a bumper sticker, like the hook, the chorus, whatever it is. He's like, I don't care. It's got to be a bumper sticker.
Yeah,
you know, it's like it doesn't matter what it is.
That's important.
If it's something you can sing back to yourself, and it's so I've never understood these people. I talk about this all the time on my show. The fact that there's nothing wrong with having a good hook and a good harmony, or like it's so much about a hook. When you turn on the radio and you hear a good song, it's like, oh man, I love that song. What do you love about it? Oh man, there's this one part in the song. It's like,
Oh.
it says this. And it's like, freaking Howard Jones from Kill Switch Engagement, man. That guy figured it out very quickly.
Oh, buddy, I
Where he's
completely
like,
agree.
man, I can, if you can mix, and that's, people always say, like, what is like metalcore? I'm like, to me, it's metal music with hooks.
Yep. Well,
Like, good.
metalcore got a bad rap, man. Metalcore got a terrible rap as being like a bunch of emo pussies writing heavier stuff to try and show that they're not pussies. Like that's kind of the vibe.
Trying to show they're sensitive.
Ooh, you know what I'm saying? And really, like in reality, it was guys that had a little more songwriting sensibility and definitely wanted to simplify. Get rid of the blast beats and the fucking arpeggios every 5 minutes and the trills and the stuff that you can have some of that and that tells a good story, but you can't have that the whole time. You gotta. What are you trying to say with this, right? Like
Exactly.
I mean, that's just me though. There's lots of guys who like could do without it, obviously, in their life, but you know what I mean. But you like Jimmy Eat World? You ever listen to Jimmy Eat World?
Jimmy Eat World. Yeah. I mean, obviously back in the day, yeah. That's what it's funny. Like, I never, when I was younger, like especially in high school, like I was the weirdest fucking dude in high school. I was really into like grunge music, and like my favorite band's Alice in Chains still to this day.
Oh man, really? That's interesting.
I got a huge Lane Staley poster just to my left here, like huge. But also like I was a huge Nirvana fan and like, the 2000s era rock, like like I'm a huge Godsmack fan and Seether and Stain.
Oh wow.
Like, all that shit. So like I was very in my bubble.
Okay.
And I had heard like, like this obviously like instead of a band like 60, like a Sum 41, where to me they were a little more accessible to me because they still had like a bit of a hard rock metal edge to them, mainly with Chuck especially.
Oh yeah, Chuck.
But then I heard, like bands like Jimmy Eat World and bands like that where it's like, it's too happy for me. I don't get it. And then as time went on, oh for sure. Yeah. Like and then as time goes on, I'm like, oh wait, I get it now. It's just like and it was funny as I got older. I even got more into metal music, whereas I used to talk such shit about bands like Lamb of God. I used to be like, it doesn't take any talent. And then
that's all it is.
Well, for me, it was more like the vocals. It's like, so what, bro? You just gotta. It's like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Like, this is bullshit. Like,
hey man,
cough it up, bro.
Tell me more, bro. About what you guys are doing, man.
Yeah,
I get it, man.
And then it's like, you go through some shit in life, and it's like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah. He's not literally saying walk with me in hell. He means like we're walking together through some bullshit.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it clicked for me, and I was like,
it's amazing how long it takes for stuff like that to click, man. Isn't that funny how that, that's so like with the Lamb of God thing. That's the only reason I asked you about Jimmy Eat World is like when they released The Middle to radio and Edge 102 probably played it like 9 times a day, and I wanted to just rip my ears off my head. Unfortunately, it was the only station that was cool enough that for me to want to listen to radio because I didn't have my CD player, didn't work on my Saturn, So I'd listen to the Edge all day, and then I realized like 5-6 years later, the progression of Jimmy Eat World, I kind of just humored a friend a long time ago. His name was Dan Sadowski. We played in a band together called The Little Black Dress, and he showed me Futures, that album by Jimmy Eat World. And then from then forward, I never, ever, ever turned my back on Jimmy Eat World because it's the only band that knows how to make me like a pretty tough grown man cry. I know how to cry now. It's the one band that taught me how to actually feel things like an adult. It's crazy, man. But all that aside, I kind of got sidetracked with Jimmy World. I had to tell you how I feel about it because it comes out. Unfortunately, it comes out in the Crease Rule. And if anyone can point it out, I challenge them to. But it comes out eventually. We have a couple more EPs coming out this year, and you're going to hear a little Jimmy Eat World scattered into that. Which some people might be like, "Fuck it, I'm out. I don't want to hear it anymore." You know what I mean? Like, I want that skate punk. I want that heavy punk rock. But
the amount of how much you're like triggering my brain is just funny. Like talking about bands that made you feel things and cry as an adult in that like punk world.
Yeah.
I'm all for it. Like I'm a very like my songwriting that I really truly love is more on the, I would say, the emotional side of things and things of that nature, where it's like real stuff, this is real life. And there's a band, I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but they're from Hamilton. I'm drawing a blank right now. I think they're from Hamilton. They're called Rival Town.
Rival Town. Okay, so
Yes.
yes, I have heard of them. I have heard of them. I have yet to enjoy the experience. Like,
Okay.
I've yet to listen to them and enjoy them. But what's the story with them?
So basically, they dropped an EP last year called Useless Hands.
Cool.
And if you guys are regular listeners of my show, you've heard me talk about this fucking EP ad nauseum at this point. Because that's
oh shit.
That's how much it when I sat down to review this fucking awesome EP, Rival Town, like, oh yeah, we're like a kind of a punk rock pop punk band. I'm like, okay, so Useless Hands, it's gonna be like, I don't know, pop punky. I don't know what it could be. Like, oh, my hands are useless, I can't do anything or whatever. And I'm like, okay, whatever, cool, I'm for it.
yeah.
And I realized that's not even fucking remotely what it is, because it's and I hate always telling their story for them, but like I can't help it now at this point. The EP, basically in a quick synopsis nutshell, has a few songs on it that are about the guitarist and the piano player's mother passing away from cancer. And let's just say it's real, and it's fucking amazing songwriting, and the vocalist is just like, he does an amazing job. And there's a song on that record called Movement, and made me weep.
So I shouldn't drive to this. I shouldn't drive to this shit at night without my seeing glasses, because I'm gonna cry and crash.
100%.
Okay, those are the types of bands I got to watch out for. I got to listen to them from the safety of my home and not in a moving vehicle, so I can see the road.
I listened to them while I was recording a podcast and had to stop for the first time ever in the 4 years I've been doing this, because I was crying. I was like, shit, man, I gotta stop. It makes me feel things.
Oh, dude, I mean, and that okay, you know what? I think I'm gonna write this down. Now, because I need to listen to these guys. That sounds important to me. That's like me listening to Kill by Jimmy Eat World. Like that type of. I listen to it, I'm like, no, I know I'm right in the middle of this. It pops on, I can't turn it off, start crying. And it's okay to have feelings. It is 2020. It is okay to have feelings like that. It's okay to be emotional. It's okay to fuck shit up because you're sad. Just don't try not to hurt other people physically. That would be cool. Just keep your,
I absolutely agree with you on that. And it's funny, like we by the way, guys, that was episode 226 of the Hottest Show Music Showcase. Just saying, I did a full showcase of that record. Plug.
I expect the next 10 podcasts to be like, by the way, guys, Three-Way Stop EP, episode 211, the Crease Rule, plug. You have to do that now for the next 4 or 5 episodes. Okay,
I will do that. I'm going to be talking about this interview for a while.
My best friend, man.
Fuck yeah, man. This is fantastic.
I'm both your mother and your father tonight. Okay.
Sweet. I'll take it. But it's funny, man. Like we shooting the shit of all this music and stuff, and you've mentioned a few things about certain bands, and I'm just like, holy shit, and we were talking before, obviously, we're going to talk about the EP or the single or whatever you want to call it, and we're going to talk about, I want to get into your upbringing and stuff in the Durham region area, because you're definitely the first person I've had on that I think isn't in my immediate life that is from the area. So I want to kind of compare stories of it.
Sick. Yeah, I kind of like that, man. I could shoot the shit with all my buddies from Durham, Clarington, Bowmanville. We could talk about good times. We've also done it 100 times. It would be good to kind of get to see if we can contrast a little bit here and figure some shit out, and then be like, wow, because I don't know you, and I think that's awesome.
Exactly. But before we do that, I'm curious as hell about your, obviously, you mentioned a few times about the fact that you've played in different bands all over, and if I'm not mistaken, you've done some touring playing guitar for other bands as well, correct? Kind of what happened with all that? When did all that start for you?
Okay, so I decided growing up in Durham Region, I played in a couple bands as a kid. They were just bands with my best friends kind of thing. Played in a band called Halfway to Nothing, which turned into a band called Averidian, and we did the whole Curtis, Bowmanville, Newcastle thing. We played at Gets, we played those shows. We became buds with a band called XO Elliott and a band called 1 Second Too Late that we used to play shows.
That just took me back to like 2007 and 8.
We
Shit.
You know what I mean? We got to know the whole. Hey, I'm Greg Norrie. Like, I want to make your band big. Like that whole thing. It was pretty funny. And that expired. To be honest with you, I kind of drifted away from that. My friends went off to London, and I'm like, all right, I'm not going to London. I'm not doing music industry arts. Like, I am already a musician, and that's no insult to their choices. They wanted to be audio engineers, and I wanted to kind of figure out like what works best for me, and me just going along with them for the sake of being in a band just didn't work for me. And I'm still best friends with these guys now. So I decided, like, you know what, fuck it. I write all the time. Like, I have booklets upon booklets of writing. I'm going to figure out like kind of how I can make that work for me for school. I decided to go to York for institutional communication. I learned to digest technical words and jargon and turn it into sentences people can understand. That was kind of my study. And all that garbage aside, at York University, at this point in my life, I think this was like 2007, I was like, I don't think I'm going to play music anymore. I'm not playing.
Just kind of moved on from it, yeah.
Yeah, like I played, like, music was kind of like, I'd play along in my room and stuff. I always had an amp and a guitar set up, but I was like, I don't think I'm going to be in a band. Like, I got to figure out this other shit, right? So I was, next thing you know, blammo, I had a buddy, he lives in Oshawa, his name's Derek Wright. He is much older than me. I think he's pushing 40 now, but at the time he was in his 30s. He used to babysit my brother, and he goes, "Hey man, it's cool you're in the city. I'm playing drums in a band called Thresh," and it was with a tattoo artist named Amanda and a guy named Chris Dalziel. And Chris Dalziel, cool thing about this band was okay. It was like a rock band. It was like, yeah, let's go to Rehearsal Factory, play some songs. Like, in my opinion, it wasn't my calling, but it was fun to jam with the guys again. So this guy Chris Dalziel, he goes, "Hey man, you're pretty good at like this, and this, and you're good with people, and you're good at garage band. Like, why don't I try and get you in at Apple?" So this is when Apple retail was booming. And I was like, okay, sure. Like, Apple retail, let's do it. Right. So I got a sick fucking gig at Apple. So I'd be like showing people how to use GarageBand, showing people how to like record in Logic, selling stuff, looking at iPhones when the iPhones first came out, like stuff like that. It was kind of a fun little part-time gig, but it was there that I met Jesse LaBelle. And Jesse LaBelle and I stood side by side at the Apple store, and we would just Google pictures of guitars for days and days. Badass. Jesse LaBelle was a Warner artist, and he also had a cover band called Canal Street. So Jesse was like, "Hey man, it would be great to like, it'd be, I figured, I noticed you play music. Like, do you play bass?" And I was like, I mean, I play everything, man. So at the time, I had probably learned every Sum 41, No Effects, Green Day, Billy Talent. I'd learned everything with bass guitars and drums at my house already. So I was like, sure, man, I'll play bass in your cover band. He's like, yeah, we got this New Year's gig coming up. There's a wet t-shirt contest. It's in Guelph. I'm like, all right. So I went and did that.
I'm in.
Yeah, I'm in, bro.
Stop,
you son of a bitch. I'm in, yeah. So Jesse had me out. We played a couple of gigs together, which the first gig I ever played with Jesse was with a guy named Mike Sleeth on the drums, who actually plays drums for Shawn Mendes now. So cool. So Jesse Sleeth and I became super good buddies, and he's like, "Hey guys, I have this album dropping. I need a band for tour. Do you guys want to work together with me?" And we were like, "Yeah, absolutely." So we became Jesse's, like, we were a pop band, and we added one more guy, and that was a guy named Dan Sadowski. And the four of us went on tour, and that was it. The rest was kind of history. I got a really early taste of being a professional musician. I didn't make a ton of money at first because the big guys at the label shop decided that I'm oblivious. We were oblivious. We didn't know enough to ask for what we deserved. So let's just throw them on the road for minimum wage. And it was great, man. Like, we had a great experience. Jesse was absolutely so fucking talented, and it allowed me to meet some killer fucking dudes. I met a bunch of guys in a band called The Latency from Vancouver, and they fucking slapped. They were so good. That band broke up further down the road, but I'm actually still pretty good friends with them. Johnny Weeb actually played in The Latency, and I met him 12 years ago. He plays in the Crease Rule now, so he's the drummer in the Crease Rule, and he's pretty rad. And then I also met the boys, and these kids were Crowns, which is like one of Canada's biggest power pop party punk band that ever existed. Yeah, they went fucking platinum. They played New Year's in Singapore to like 4 million people. So I met those boys and we toured together for 2-3 months, and like my relationships with them kind of carried on. I ended up playing in that band for a while my good buddy Alan had to go and fight fires. He's a firefighter, so I filled in for him on bass for a bunch of dates. And then from there, it kind of just spiraled into like, I think I can make this work. I think I can sustain this lifestyle. I just need to learn that it's not always going to be there for me unless I fucking work and I maintain relationships and keep talking and hustling. And I lived downtown at the time anyway, so I was always out at the bar, out at Sneaky D's, socializing, meeting bands that were coming in and out. And next thing you know, like, I'm like, holy shit, like I got a lot of buddies that are in bands. I got a lot of buddies that are artists and friends, I have acquaintances. I mean, it was difficult at times not having a lot of money and living in the city and being kind of a shitty band dude, like wearing, shitty denim that smelled like denim, but like also poo. And that was my life for a long time. And then I ended up getting a pretty sweet gig as a musical director for an artist named Danny Fernandez, who's we actually went and toured with. We did a full Canada arena tour with Headley. We did some stuff with Lights, Fifi Dobson, San Sebastian. Look, we played with a lot of the
some
pop.
legit people.
So that was like the first taste of like big arena gig. Like I got to play Cops Coliseum, and the fun part about working with an artist like Danny Fernandez is the guy was he was multi-platinum selling art. He had toured with Sean Kingston. He had toured with he did dates with like Puff Daddy and crazy. It was a bunch of crazy shit he had done.
Crazy.
And they decided he was at a point in his life where he was doing a band thing. Like he had an album that came out that had real instruments on it. And it wasn't like, Be My Private Dancer. Like, you know what I mean? So my job was to take an Ableton rig and mesh his old songs, which were basically just fucking 808s and triggers, and mix it with his new shit, which had like distorted guitars and keyboards and bass and live drums and
real band shit.
So we're on stage playing arenas with like 18 sub bins underneath us with a full band playing over top of 808s. And it was like, what the fuck is this? It was hilarious. And I'm like still a rock punk guy. Like think about me and my boys like that I hired playing this shit. It was hilarious, man. Like it was a hilarious experience. And then after that, then it kind of a lot more doors opened up for me. And I kind of took a huge break after that, though, as the doors were opening. I had to kind of recoil. I need to get back to me because I had been on the road too much. I had been away from home too much, and I had no stability, and I didn't have good relationships anymore. And a lot of that had to do with just like lack of sleep and alcohol and all that shit. And you know what? The important part was that when I bounced back well enough to do it with moderation after that. So I think from 2014 till now, that has been kind of okay, I'm an adult now. I'm 24, 25. What do the next 10 years look like in my life? If I'm not going to stop being a musician. I realize now it's in my DNA. Like I have to be a musician. I don't care how I'm doing it. It just has to be that. So I started a business, and the business is basically, it started out just as a cover band, and I'm like, fuck it, we'll play some bars, see how it goes. With one of my best friends, Brandon Jones. He was actually top 10 on Canadian Idol, the first Canadian Idol. So this kid can sing like an angel.
It's legit. That's
badass. He's badass. So together we shared a love for rock and roll and actually a lot of punk rock, and Brandon's got an excellent taste in music, but he also likes, he opened my eyes to a lot of the pop and country that I didn't think I'd like, but I ended up liking. So we wrote a bunch of mashups, and we really like elaborate party band mashups, and it started to really click. So then we started, the weddings started coming in, and the corporate kind of entities that wanted to do parties, the kind of the word spread around, and the business grew pretty aggressively. So I think during that process, on the side, I said, I need more facets. I need more branches and umbrellas of income. And I'm like, well, I started to realize like, oh my God, like, holy fuck, I got some talented fucking friends. So I started working with, I actually started collaborating with my friend, Jesse Colburn. He actually played guitar for Avril Lavigne, and he played in a punk band called Closet Monster. Jesse is an insane jingle writer, jingle composer for commercials. Okay. So him and I started to collaborate on that. So that kind of kept the income rolling. And then one of my longest buddies, Corey Schaefer, he runs a production house downtown Toronto. He does rock documentaries, commercial shoots. He's got a lot of video buddies. So I started doing a lot of post-production for him. So audio post-production, editing, writing songs for commercial spots. We've done a slew of stuff that, like, holy fuck, look at this check that just came in. Holy shit, are you kidding me?
Making some actual money.
Yeah. Currently, we're actually working on an Arkells doc, so we're pretty tight with the Arkells boys.
Oh, wow.
And like Corey does he does their arena tour production videos, so that he does all that stuff. And so I mean, there are a lot of people kind of behind the scenes that have had a lot of faith in him over the years, and he's one of the number one guys in the city, I'd say. And I have the pleasure of working with him pretty often and doing a lot of that stuff. So, long story short is I had these, like, it's kind of, I look at it as residual income. And the reason it's residual is because kind of the purpose behind residual income is, like, you're not necessarily worrying about it or trying to process it to get the money. This is just secondhand shit to me. Like, I'm not even being cocky. You do it long enough, you're like, okay, of course I can do that for you, bro. Oh yeah, I'll do that in a day for you there, bro. Oh, of course we'll play this wedding for you. And I'm like, okay, stressing though. I'm always stressed. I'm like, how am I going to make this work? So I started to make it work. My business alone now, we just opened a, like, communications division, like a PR division. And now we kind of do word of mouth, small business styles, media of all kind. And it's great. And I think that has allowed me to have more options with what I want to do with my life. And I realized after a huge, quiet, epic summer up in Muskoka, I ended up buying a house in Muskoka.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, man, right up in Huntsville there. It's a fucking beaut up here, I tell you. No one fucking bothers me if I don't want them to. And yeah, I got tired of the city. I still have an office there. Yeah, like I realized, like, I need to get out of the city, but I have to keep my business address here, which I did. So I have a studio and a bedroom down in the city now, in the same place I lived for 12 years. And then I'm buying a house up north. So I did that, saved every fucking penny I had as a fucking broke musician and made it work. And now I'm up here, and I thought to myself, sun's shining, it's quiet. I have this little home studio up here. And I was like, what? Something's rumbling inside of me. I don't know what it is, but I feel so goddamn inspired all of a sudden. And I just started spewing these punk rock songs out of me. I got to about 30 songs, and I was like, oh my God, like, these aren't terrible. But my problem all those years, playing with other people and seeing really talented, successful artists, I started to push down anything that would be original and creative within myself, because I thought to myself, no, you see what it takes. You see how talented these people are. You are not going to want to put out your music because you are going to get fucking chirped. You're going to get like insulted, or people are just going to let it fall flat on its face. And for the first time in my life, over all that time, I thought to myself, I don't fucking care anymore. So anyways, I'm like puking out these punk rock songs. Like, they're fucking coming out of me, and then I'm crying at the end of it, because they're all stories about growing up and all these things that I didn't take time to, like, over these years, I haven't taken time to, like, recognize the things that made me upset and that made me sad, and, like, very specific events. Like, I find that I'm very, like, a literal writer, unfortunately. Literal writing is much different from, like, pop and country and stuff like that, because there's way less metaphors that you can allude to. You know what I mean? Like, it's all literal fucking stories. So yeah, that's kind of where that happened. All these songs came out. I chose 12 and put 12 in a Dropbox folder out of the 30, and I started sending them around to musicians that I heavily respected, and punk rock people and management types, guys I grew up with. And I got the feedback. I kind of tallied up which songs kind of had the best impact for certain people, and then the ones that I liked the most. And then I made kind of a plan for 2020, and it started with fucking Three-Way Stop. And I was like, this is right from the beginning, growing up, I'm releasing a fucking EP about this fucking intersection that pisses me off so fucking much. It's bullshit. Since I was a fucking kid, I have seen so many accidents there. I've seen so many people complain about it. Everyone in fucking Bowmanville knows what it is. Everyone complains about it. And I'm like, I'm releasing it, and I don't give a fuck if it does nothing. I am still fucking releasing it. But if I'm gonna release it, I'm gonna release it properly. I'm gonna release it with the right team, the right mixing engineers, the right fucking guys to edit my guitars, the right fucking guys who are behind me that understand my vision. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I'm not just gonna be like, hey man, like I heard you're pretty good at this, like word of mouth. I heard you did this album. Can you do mine? How much is it gonna cost me? No, I demo.
Can you make my guitar sound like? Dun, dun, dun.
Can you use like a little? I over the years I learned enough about demoing songs that I can get the ideas out. Like my demos don't sound terrible. Like they're not amazing, but they're not terrible. So I can send demos off and stems off to guys, and they say, okay, I'm going to be your guitar guy, and then I have my live drums guy, and then I have my vocals, and then the guys that do gangs and all that stuff, and then I have my mixing engineer who is like fucking mental, and then I have a mastering guy, and like so these guys are all really close to me, and they're actually like pretty. They've found a lot of success in what they do. And I know a lot of each of the category. Like I know a lot of mixing engineers and I know a lot of guys that do drums, but it has to feel right with my relationship with them as well. Like,
for the project.
That's it. Right. And then when I showed them the demos, it wasn't a case of how the feedback was. Like there were a lot of guys that listened to the Crease Rule and were like, oh, fuck yeah, bud. Like, give me this amount of money. I'll do it right now. Let's fly you out here and there. And I'm not saying that everyone wanted to do that, but there were people that were really interested. And I actually got really uppity at first. I'm like, oh, he wants to do it. I better respond quickly. You know what I mean? And I was like, no, don't respond quickly. Like feel it out with everyone. Like feel it out with these people you've known your whole life, and like see who you trust the most and who respects you and has shown you mutual respect over the years. And that person should take your money. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And
there's a loyalty.
There's a loyalty there, right? It's like almost like it's like I'm starting this brand. Will you wear my hat? Absolutely. I don't want this guy. Yeah, this guy does. Yeah, this guy goes to EDM shows and does fucking MDMA. I don't want him wearing my sweater. I want this guy. I don't mean to be picky with humans, but there are certain people that we don't all mesh with, right?
Oh, dude, I feel you. Trust me, I feel you 100% on that.
yeah. So that's kind of how it all came together. And then by the time I heard the masters, I was like, holy fuck. I was like, this sounds all right. I'm like, I was even a little like, whoa, cool.
Is that me? Are you sure?
That's us. That's the Crease Rule. Like it's a specific sound. Like it's pretty specific. Cool. And then that's, the rest is fucking history, bro. Rest is history.
That's fucking
that's
awesome.
Right now. Yeah, man. That's the Crease Rule. I'm sorry, like to just go off and tell you everything about it.
No, dude, that was fantastic. That's fantastic. That's what I wanted, right? That's the number one thing with this that's always so fun for me. And if you guys could see me right now during him giving that whole spiel, I'm just sitting here smiling and nodding because I'm just like, fuck yeah, I love this. I love that shit, man. But there's so much stuff that you touched on though that I want to just kind of real quick. What is the name of the company that you run now? Just anyone who might potentially be interested.
Oh yeah, it's called KLHENT. So Kyle Lucas Hohmann Entertainment. It's KLHENT. It's short formed. The website is klhpresents.ca, alongside the creaserule.ca, the creaserule.com, and then there's the wedding band, the party band specifically is lindsaybrohan.com. It's Lindsay Bro. It's after Lindsay Lohan. Believe it or not, Lindsay Brohan. That's the name of the wedding band. So that's kind of I'm a bit of a wild card, bud. Sorry.
Got a lot going on, but that's cool. Like but you talking about certain people that you want associated with your brand and that, like, I feel that because I'm kind of the same way. Like we were talking before we started, even how like I'm very careful now. Like I'm like, hey, I might want to have this person on my show, but like, they go to EDM festivals and do MDMA. So I'm like,
yeah, you know what
like,
I mean?
just,
like,
I don't know.
With
all due respect to people who do that, it's like, that's not me. I just, what are we going to talk about? Like, we're going to sit here. Yeah, bro. So like this one time, man.
Yeah.
I don't even know where I was.
Yeah. The relationships, you can cultivate relationships with anyone if you're good enough, but it's the wholesomeness that you're finding that kind of like aligns with your schema. There were guys that I approached that I respected, that I was friends with, that I didn't see all the time in the city. Like there's a couple of really good DJs that had a good following. And I said, hey man, this is my EP. I'm trying to do a little Instagram push. And I'm not trying, you're my friend. And I want to just test the waters to see if there are people in your scene that might like the punk rock. Right. And he straight up was like, you know what, bro? I don't know if that's my brand. And I'm like, whoa, he sounds like me right now. I'm like,
he sounds so professional.
I wasn't even offended. I was like, yeah, man, respect, bro. Respect. Like bro, respect, man. Like, I totally get that. That's today's day and age. Like, it's important to you can't just like whore yourself out. I'm sorry for saying that,
Yes.
but
whore
yourself out, because what you do looks like it's plastic. It just looks like you can buy it for $2 at Dollarama.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
That's just so funny that you're saying all that, man, because I've even, like with this show and what I do here, I've had some great sponsors over the last couple of years, and it's always great, but I've been approached by certain companies that I'm not going to name just because we didn't end up working together, but I knew right away, hey, this product, like, I'm going to be lying if I say, oh yeah, this product is great and I use it. It's like, I can't do that. Oh, well, we'll pay you. It's like, well, I can't do that, man.
Isn't
like,
that crazy?
It's like you just said, it's like, you could tell it's like plastic, something you get at Dollarama. I can't whore myself up for that. It's just can't do it.
It sucks, man. And there's lots of people that do, and there's also people that do it, but they do it cleverly enough and do it the right way that, it sucks, man. Like, I can't just endorse my buddy's company just because he started it, like, with a punk rock band. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I can't do certain things like that. I've had to learn that lesson too over the years. Like, you can't just follow everyone on Instagram and like all their fucking photos and give your thumb arthritis to become like, to have people truly appreciate your product. You know what I mean? To truly appreciate what your stories are. Like, and that's the thing about the Crease Rule too, is this is a fucking punk rock band. Punk rock is not cool. Okay, it's not cool anymore. It's not fucking hip. It's not current, cutting edge. It's a fucking storytelling device that has sonic properties. It's beautiful to some, and it's not beautiful to others. And when you can get people enjoying a song you wrote, and it's a heavy, aggressive song about something that kind of makes them smile and laugh, that's what I didn't think Three-Way Stop would be at this point, like, viralized the way it is. And I mean, I found a little luck with what I wrote about, but I didn't write the song so that people be like, oh, I know that. Like, it was more like, this is my home. This is where I grew up. And like, this song, I actually like did it in a fit of road rage, and I tracked the song in a couple hours, and I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, it's kind of catchy, I guess. Like, it kind of sounds like stadium soccer. Like, you'd hear it in a soccer stadium. And I was like, well, you know what I mean? And I further followed that road and produced it and worked on it and made it sound fucking huge, and then added a couple basic riffs. And then I finished the song like months before the release, like a year before the release almost. And I think to myself, like, yeah, this is the first one I want to do. It's about Bowmanville. It's about my childhood. It's pretty dumb. And I just enjoy it. I enjoy the fuck out of it. And
it checks all the boxes.
It checks all the boxes. And then next thing you know, it's checking other boxes, because there's people who are finding that sounds stupid. It's like other people are finding, like, they're relating to this partially because of where they grew up, but also partially because they're like, hey, it's not just because of the article. It's not just because of Global TV or whatever. It's like, this is a good song, man. I'm like, oh, like, thank you. Like, holy shit. Like, I thought at first, like, it was just gaining popularity because of this article or whatever. They're like, no, man, it fucking kicks ass. I'm like, cool, man. Like, thank you. And I just feel so humbled and like overwhelmed, because it's just a punk rock song. And it just came at such a point in my life where I bought this house up in Muskoka, and I had this like kind of like life altering. I quit booze, and I had all these fucking panic attacks quitting booze. And like, I had this like mental health collapse, but I didn't lose myself completely, but last year I lost my cousin. He fucking killed himself, and he was one of our best friends. My brother and I went through this terrible experience. And then when I moved, I just cleared out my system of all these things that were just not putting me in a good place. I kind of got fed up with how my life was. And then I wrote these songs. So the emotion that's pouring out and that everyone's hearing, and some people are relating with it, it could be 5 people that respond and say, this is amazing. That makes me cry. It doesn't have to be 100 people. It doesn't have to be 10,000 people. It could be just 5 people that were like, hey man, this is so cool what you did. Because all I wanted to do is just share a story with anyone who's willing to fucking listen. I am not doing this to write fucking hits that make me money. I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Excuse me. Jesus Christ. Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man, for sure.
Yeah,
man. It's really great.
I'm not calling him dad. You know what's weird? Sorry for saying my first girlfriend. It's so weird. She texted me that she's mentioned in the three-way stop, by the way. She's from Newcastle. Like, she's sharing this Newcastle group that's talking about three-way stop and what we should do with the three-way stop. And all these people are talking about it. And just as you and I were talking about this, she texted me and I'm just like, whoa, like we don't talk too often either.
That's
it's fucking
crazy.
weird. And she's like, I just don't want me to cut you off, but her text to me says, you're being shared in this Newcastle group. And it's like, what should we do about this three-way stop? And it shares the article, right? And everyone's like, a four-way stop won't work. And it can't be a roundabout. And this and that. And my thing is, I just want to say this here on this fucking podcast with you. If you put a roundabout going both ways on baseline and put stop signs, keep the stop signs on the other two sides, like, stop with the red lights, I think that will help. I think it'll fucking help. You know what I mean? Like,
I think so,
it'll fucking help. And there's this guy, the infrastructure guy from Bowmanville. He's not a mean guy. He seems like a nice guy, but he's like, oh, well, there's only been 12 accidents in a decade. That's fucking 12 probably car write-offs, bro. I have seen so many fender benders, car honks, squealings, cars going over into the fucking sidewalk.
He can't be talking about actual like fender benders and stuff.
No.
I've seen more than that. For
cool,
sure.
like cool stats. But let's go back 20 years. Let's go back 25 years. Like, I'm 31 and I've been going through that intersection since 1995. 1995 with my parents, and then I got my license in grade 7. Like, I've been going through it, and we have all witnessed the chaos. And I just, like, now that it's finally being talked about, we're talking about it because no one gives a fuck about South Bowmanville sometimes. All they do is put in smart centers and build these fucking little houses on the hillside north of fucking Bowmanville with two lane roads, no access. There's fucking traffic everywhere. You can't get to fucking, it takes you 30 years to get to the LCBO, right? And meanwhile, they can't fucking fix this goddamn intersection on Baseline in the south end where the other subdivisions are, where the people have been living there their whole fucking lives. I just find it ignorant, and I find that, I think that's awesome that people are talking about it, because I didn't think it would evoke this much conversation. And that's what's fucking cool about it, man. It's like, this is what punk rock is. You get people talking about shit, get people fucking questioning things, right? I didn't think about it, but like, now it's happening. It's hilarious. It's fucking hilarious.
Man, I'll tell you, like, I contacted you guys, or you specifically, I guess.
Yeah.
There were people on my timeline who were like posting, oh man, like, yeah, this three-way stop is bullshit. And like, it's not just like obviously it's like some of my boys that I'm like, okay, like they're like my age, but then also it's like, people who are much older. And it's like, yeah, these guys are right.
Yeah.
It's like,
but
then also
people getting Facebook for the first time going, it's quite a thrill. It's quite a thrilling experience. You know what I mean? Like,
I wish they wouldn't swear so much, but like, they're right. It's a thrill.
That's literally what someone wrote. She's like, the cursing isn't needed, but I agree with them. It's like, so good. Wow. And that's kind of the one thing that worries me is like, I don't want to be a joke. I don't want to be a joke policy.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be like, there's a lot of music coming down the pipe with this band that it actually is pretty, I think they're pretty good stories, and it's not all about three-way stop, but unfortunately this song is really getting people talking, and I'm like, I like it, but I also don't. It's giving us a little bit of a platform now to share new stuff. So people are like, oh, new Crease Rule. But at the same time, it's like, oh yeah, they're that three-way stop band. I laughed through that song. It was so funny. You know what I mean?
Well, and I think what the difference is, because I mean, okay, I'm going to be completely 100% brutally honest with you.
No worries, bro.
When I first heard, like, oh, three-way stop, this band, I was kind of, it wasn't a chuckle as like this is never going to get over. It was like, oh, like, haha, like, that's funny. They wrote a song about the three-way stop. Like, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
And then I listened to it and I go, fuck me, this is a good song. Like, it's not, yeah, obviously lyrical content. Yeah, okay, haha, I chuckle at some stuff. But like, nah, like, this is a good fucking song. What else do they have? And you guys were so smart, and I'm sure this was very planned, where, hey, with this single, let's release these other two songs so that if for those people like myself who are a little more, once I wet my palate, so to speak, with three-way stop, and I was like, hey, there's more to this song than just relatable lyrics. Like, this is a good song. There's a good hook. There's great fucking riffs, and there's some good stuff here. What else do we have? And then I see, Christian School, and I see The Village, and I go, okay, tell me The Village is about the Village Inn.
Fuck yeah, it's about the Village Inn, baby.
And I'm like, fuck yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I love it. And
Fuck
it's
yeah.
just, there's more to it than that. So I think your fears, I can absolutely understand them. You know, it's 2020. Unfortunately, you're gonna get those idiots that are like, "Oh yeah, man, the Crease Rule, yeah, three-way stop, bro, it's so good." But I think you're gonna see the other side of it where people are just like, "Shit, man, like these guys are actually like, you know, yeah, three-way stop, it's great and it's relatable, but like." Yo, have you guys heard this other song that they just dropped? Like, I relate to it because of this, and like, oh,
That's cool.
I relate to this because of this.
That's what I want. That's what I want. Yeah, so I set up a three-way stop with Single because it's more, the whole release was around three-way stop. But I did add Christian School and the Village Inn because those songs tied so well together with that era in my life. So I was like, okay, these songs were really well mixed and recorded. So I'm like, I'm fucking tossing them in because they're like I think they're fucking bangers too. So, you know, like, I just think that people right now with the whole infrastructure conversation might not notice that there's a whole fucking EP underneath it. You know, that's okay. Like, that's fine. It is what it is.
But it's definitely a great platform. And I mean, it's a banger of a song. And I think it'd be cool right now for us to actually play the song.
Cool.
For the people who have not heard it. So I will, obviously, I'm going to input it here, folks. But so we're going to take a quick break and listen to Three-Way Stop right now. You've heard us talk about it. So crank it up. This is Three-Way Stop by the Crease Rule.
Spent all day in the car. I changed the oil so I could get back to it with the boys. Between plastic bottles and burger wrappers, this backseat is a pit. The only reason for this garbage bin on wheels is to get my ass to the store, so I can tray up meat and listen to the lifers binge and moan. The only problem with my life, baseline's the quickest way to work. As long as you can handle stupidity that happens at the three-way stop down in Bowmanville. And if you're driving through, it's a fucking thrill. You gotta go, you gotta go, you gotta go. Come on and grab your pals, go and see the mess. It's a coin toss between life and death. You gotta go, you gotta go, you gotta go. Let's go. Are you searching for purpose? Got the people around you to approve. A dummy heading west who had no clue if he should rip or left. Gotta grab our popcorn. Let's catch a matinee at the hardware store. About a Honda Civic getting T-boned by a grandpa's Ford. Real problem with my life. My girlfriend lives outside of town. If I don't go there now, my old man would take the keys and tell me there's a three-way stop down in Bowmanville. And if you're driving through, it's a fucking thrill. You gotta go, you gotta go, you gotta go. Come on and grab your pals, go and see the mess. It's a coin toss between life and death. You gotta go, you gotta go, you gotta go. There's a three-way stop down in Bowmanville, and if you make it through, you need a fucking pill. You gotta go, you gotta go, you gotta go. Should obey the laws, but I choose to coast right through the intersection that I hate the most. You gotta go, you gotta go, you gotta go.
All right, guys, TJ jumping in here for just a second before we get back to my chat with Kyle Hohmann of the Crease Rule. What a banger of a track Three-Way Stop is, man. Nothing like venting your frustrations about something. And if you're listening to this right now and you're frustrated with maybe how your business's logo looks or your band merch, or maybe the fact that you've hired an artist to make a personalized design for you and they just can't get it right, what do? I'll tell you what you got to do, folks. You got to go on jaybirddigitalarts.com and contact my man, Jason Reese. Now, if you guys have been listening to the show for a long time, you know damn well how much Jason has done for the show. Everything you see branding-wise and design-wise for the Harder Show, he has done pretty much from day one, man, at least for the last three and a half years or something like that. Holy Jesus, man. And he had also done all the work for Podbeard Network as well as my past podcast, Two Guys in a Game, and as well as Mikes and Beers, and tons of other stuff all over, not just locally to me, but man, freaking all over Canada, even into the States. Seriously, this man can do it all. Whether you need just, for example, some posters, tickets, flyers, logo and merch design, album art and layout, original artwork, photo editing, social media visuals, and so very much more, he can hook you up, and he can hook you up with it for a fantastic price. He lives by the motto that his business is not successful unless your business looks good. And if you hit him up today, right now, again, by going on jaybirddigitalarts.com or checking him out on any of the social medias under Jaybird Digital Arts, he will give you a free quote. What's not to like about it, guys? You can tell him your design, and I can say from experience, man, anytime I send him, man, I've sent him stuff I've done on like freaking Microsoft Paint, for God's sakes, and be like, okay, this is what I want. And he will nail it every single time. Don't mess around with anybody else. Contact my man, my good buddy, Mr. Jaybird Digital Arts today. And now back to my chat with Kyle Hohmann of the Crease Rule. All right, so we're back here, folks. That was Three-Way Stop by the Crease Rule. Man, what a fucking track. Like I was saying before, man, I think that as much as, yes, it's relatable and people like, I mean, you know, like my girl grew up just off a bass line for a lot of her life. Like when we started dating, you know, 8 years ago almost at this point, the amount of fucking times I drove from Newcastle to her place on baseline and went through that Three-Way Stop, and like it's just, man, it's so funny how yeah, and like I'm just like, because I'm one of the guys who it's like, you know, I come up to that fucking stop and it's like, okay, like, okay, what's going on here?
You gotta go.
Go, bud. Fuck, let's go.
Like, and if you're trying to come off from Duke, or if you're trying to come off from the 401 exit, you're waiting for this You're waiting for the morons who, first of all, they're on one side. No offense, not everyone's a moron, but there are people who should not be licensed to drive in Ontario. All right, our licensing system is a joke. They're at the big stop sign in front of TSC, and they're like, "Oh, looks like these cars are saying what's going on." They're not like, "Oh my God," right? And then the people who are coming from Liberty are trying to rush onto the 401, so they signal last minute, right? So then you get people who are going to go straight, right? So the people dip into the intersection and then they hammer the brakes and then hammer the brakes and they don't get through it. Meanwhile, I'm waiting to go from, say, off the highway, and I'm like, go through it, go,
you gotta go,
commit. And that's what we say up in Muskoka, especially with carpentry, when you're tossing stuff to the roof to the guy sheeting and whatnot. You go, you commit. Like it's like this. Yeah, it's funny, man. The whole term commit comes into mind when I think you gotta go. I think it's about Three-Way Stop. Like, but yeah, man, you understand. If you know, like, it's a small town. It's a small town problem. Everyone has, Brent, he plays guitar in the Crease Rule. He lives in North Bay, and there's a 5-way stop in North Bay. I can't even imagine what that's like.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
So is that going to be the next single? No, just kidding.
Imagine that. Hey, imagine that. How the fuck could we follow up this one, boys?
Oh, fucking 5-way stop, bro.
5-way stop, bro. Let's just make it bigger. But I appreciate you saying that, man. Like the song itself, like it's the premise behind it. We've already talked about the premise behind it, but like it's not about being jacked, man. It's about looking good in a t-shirt. You know what I mean? Like I'm not here to be the jack guy in the room. I'm here to like look good in a t-shirt. Like, you know what I mean? Like I want to write a song, but I want to like also like share a fun hook and all the other stuff. I want to kind of accumulate everything I can that is good into this song for everybody. And I also talked about this music isn't for everybody, but this is one of those songs where I was like, holy fuck, like it's okay to have a hook in the song because it's kind of fun, and it's okay to have heavy ass fucking guitars because I'm mad about the intersection, and it's okay to have like a shred part that, because you know what? fucking shred is like, let's just fuck shit up, because that's what that intersection is. You know, the song just plays into it gives you a lot of options to write a song about.
Oh, for sure.
So,
but I mean, even like your vocal style, where it's very, you know, again, it's punk, but it's still like accessible. And yes, you're angry in the song, but like you can tell that, like, you know, no, like, you know, still he's got some vocal chops. There's not just some guy screaming into a microphone for no apparent reason. Like there's, you know, there's some vocal chops there, and and you hear that of course in the other songs, but again, you're mad about the fucking intersection. So you're gonna yell.
You know what's really tough about is tough about getting mad and starting a punk rock band. The toughest thing for me has been years and years of being I'm like considered a professional, or I may be semi-professional harmony singer. So I usually get hired to play guitar, rhythm guitars, and harmonies for artists. And I've learned to sing with my head voice over the years, like, quite well, I'd say. Like, I can put a harmony over everything. And now the tough part is when you get mad and start a punk rock band, you decide you're going to start singing and screaming. You're like, first of all, oh, fuck, like, how do I carry a melody? Like, I'm not used to projecting consistently. Secondly, how do I not use my head voice and use, like, my chest voice so I don't blow my voice out? So there have been rehearsals where I'm, like, switching from like a oh to like a ah, and like being a crazy person, and then after rehearsal I'm like, I need to go to bed and not talk to anyone for an hour and all night. You know, it's tough, man. It's tough. And I commend guys like Howard Jones, who could sing and scream back and forth. It's crazy. It's fucking crazy. Like Killswitch Engage. There are a lot of other artists that can do that. There are some that absolutely fucking can't. You either have one or the other. You know what I'm saying?
Or you have two singers that do, you know.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like asking, you listen to Under Oath, ask Aaron Gillespie to fucking scream. You know, ask Spencer to sing on key. It's not going to happen. I'm sorry, like, no offense, guys, but like, there are bands that can't do it. And then my aspirations as a lead vocalist, once I finally gained enough courage to release music, my aspirations are to show as much vocal versatility as possible without destroying my voice. And that's very difficult for a guy who sings softly and not right into the mic and uses his head voice and oohs and ahs for fucking most of his musical career. It's tough. It's really hard. It's not easy to do. And I'm trying to find a way to be good at it. So it's tough. It's been tough.
Well, I think you're hitting the nail on the head, man. I really do. So I think you're doing good.
Thanks, dude. I appreciate that, man.
The Crease Rule.
Okay.
What is the Crease Rule for those who don't know?
Okay, so I mean, I grew up in fucking Bowmanville. Like, everyone plays hockey. I like to fucking wheel Snipes Ellie here and there, boys. I like to fucking show off a few dirty dangles here or there. Like, I'm not, you know, I'm a bit of a gong show. I wouldn't consider myself ever like make it to the show quality, but I can definitely fucking sauce a puck or two over to my buddies. So growing up, we'd all watch hockey together, and one of the most epic moments in hockey history is when Brett Hull had his fucking foot in the crease and he won the Stanley Cup. I think it was 1999. He won the Stanley Cup with his foot in the crease. He scored a goal with his foot in the crease on Dominik Hasek, and the rule at that current time was that the goal must be disallowed if the foot is in the crease before the puck. That's the rule. So if the puck is in the crease, you can put your foot in the crease, but you can't be in the crease. Like, if the puck goes in the net, no one can be standing in the crease. None of that shit can be going down. So that was the rule that year, and they called it the Crease Rule, the Crease Rule this, the Crease Rule that, oh, the Crease Rule. Meanwhile, they let Brett Hull hoist the Stanley Cup. He clearly broke the fucking rule, and like, no one did anything about it. The Dominators laying there, pissing his pants in anger, and everyone's pissed. Uproar, right? The stars, they hoisted the fucking cup, and they no one did anything about it. Meanwhile, I'm watching the Leafs play all year long. You know, my team. And I'm watching them play all fucking year long, and there's goals being disallowed left, right, and fucking center, which would have made a huge difference in them making the playoffs that year. So I think to myself, that is such a prevalent memory from when I was a kid. And I'm like, you know what? I want to fucking share stories of growing up and stories that. I'm going to name this band the fucking Crease Rule because I love hockey, and that rule is hilarious. And I mean, TCR is an okay acronym to like say, if someone's like, oh, TCR, man, I'm going to a TCR show. I'm like, that's cool too. You know, maybe it all works out. Maybe it'll all kind of check out in the long grand scheme of things. Is that cool? Does that make sense to you?
Absolutely. That's fantastic. I mean, I'm like the worst Canadian ever because I'm not a huge hockey fan.
That's okay.
But that's fucking awesome.
Thanks,
I remember
man.
that. I do remember that though, like around that. I mean, I was a little younger, so like I don't remember it quite as vividly, but I can recall all these people talking about, oh, the fucking Crease Rule, and they won the Stanley Cup, and it shouldn't have been allowed, and blah, blah, blah. Like, I remember that. That's great. That's great.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the Crease Rule, that moment in time, everything was so fucked in that moment. Like, everything was fucked. Are you kidding me? You're letting them hoist the cup? You're letting these guys, that's an entire team's fucking season, an entire organization's season down the drain because they didn't call back something like a rule, right? Like, it was pretty fucking clear. And I mean, I'm bringing back something from far away that a lot of people will be like, oh my God, Kyle, you're fucking serious? That's what the band name is? That's so fucking stupid, buddy. Like, that's irrelevant. My people who don't watch hockey are like, okay, what the fuck? You know, the logo literally is Brett Hull on Dominic Hasek, like the main Crease Rule logo. Like, it's stupid. But it also is like, maybe there are enough guys my age that it would enjoy punk rock stories that also liked hockey, and they can be like, oh, cool, the Crease Rule. That's fucking funny, man. Like, I'm trying to kind of share a little bit of like humor and candor with people. I'm not trying to be like, this band is called Chromecast from the stars. I'm staring at my I'm just arbitrarily naming things that are scientific. Like, this is called Galaxies. Everyone, and you know, that's a band name thing, right? Band names over the years. I find that you get one band that comes up with a fucking great band name, and then you get all these Machiavellians trying to follow suit so they can get commercial success off of people mistakenly searching the wrong band. So you got, even nowadays, you got the Glorious Sons. They're fucking awesome. How many? There's fucking a million Sun bands that came after. They even started changing Sun, like S-U-N. You know what I mean? And no offense, guys, but like, you can do better. And then all of a sudden, you know, Architects came out. And then I remember when Architects came out, and then Structures, and then interval, things that are almost geographical and architectural monuments. Like, why? No offense, guys. No offense. I get it. It fits with the scene. I could say the same shit about me. Like, there unfortunately are a bunch of bands that are Shell related and hockey related that play punk rock now. It's kind of become a thing. Like, Every Time I Die endorsing Violent Gentlemen, it kind of spurred this whole thing about hockey and punk rock. And that's cool, man. It's actually kind of cool. I can't just sit here and chirp an entire era of people naming bands after stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, I can't be that type of a dick. What was another one? Monsters and Men. Mice and Men, Monsters. Like, people just kind of like get really excited and be like, oh, they're so huge right now. I really want to start a project. They've inspired me. Let's literally try and rip their name off. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, for sure.
There's a lot of that, right? Like, there's a lot of that that's happened. Oh, the worst was when metalcore first came out. Darkest Hour, Darkest Days, The Darkness Within, Creatures Crawling. Like, just like everything about your fucking basement. And I liked them all, but they all played in drop C. Yeah. They all played breakdowns for half their songs, and they all went, yeah. And it was cool for a bit. You know what I mean? For a bit, it was kind of cool. But like,
then everyone does it. It's
not sustainable, right? Like, it's just, it's not that the Crease Rule is sustainable either, but it's just funny. It's humorous to see how many times that's fucking happened. Blink 182, Sum 41. Eiffel 65. Actually, that was a different era. But like, you all these years where it's like, oh, the numbers thing, it's so in. Remember when Will Sasso sat down Sum 41 in that video and made the joke about like the numbers? Will Sasso is one of the funniest guys ever. That's a good example of like how the era of music and how nothing is original. Like, I'll admit, none of the shit I do is fucking original at all. It's more nostalgic, if anything. It's all been done before, and there's no way to create things that are completely fucking individual anymore. So a lot of industries try to recycle themselves, and consumer products get put back into rotation. And it's like that with music, right? Like the 70s. Remember when AC/DC and Led Zeppelin became cool all of a sudden in like the 2000s? And remember, like, you know what I mean? Like, stuff like this happens all the time. Like, it's a circle of, well, this worked then. Maybe it's been long enough that if we bring it back, people like, oh, wow, you know, like that nostalgia feel, right? I don't want to play into that too much. I do want to write music that had one of the biggest influences on me ever was the punk rock era, right? It means so much to me. But unfortunately, you can't win it all. And you can't act like your shit is original. I'm sorry, you can't. It's all been done. That's me being a pessimist, man. Like, that is very pessimistic, because now with streaming and YouTube and the internet and the worldwide organizations and connections that we have, everything, you see the number of bands, you see the number of songs that have been written in this way, you see the number of NoFX imitators, and, you know, anyways, before getting too passionate about that, you can totally see everything's been fucking done before. So the best thing you can do is write stories that are honest, and hopefully people will recognize the honesty in your story, and then you add the components of music that people will enjoy. Like, yes, I am a punk rock guy. Great story. I like those riffs. That's great. Awesome. I love the Crease Rule. You know what I mean? That's what it's about. It's not about the next thing. Stop being so next. Everyone's like, yo, this new, this is the next thing. Chill. Like, chill. You know what I mean?
Just let stuff be and just be honest and
man.
You're being honest about this and you're telling stories about your childhood and your upbringing, and it's real. And I think that, real respect's real in the sense of people who are those genuine real music fans who really give a shit, and they're not just following the trends, and they don't, oh, well, what's popular right now? I'm going to listen to that so I can be popular, because in the next year, no one's going to give a shit about that.
No one fucking cares, man. I can't, the one part that's tough about ranting like this, the tough part about ranting about music and stuff, especially like publicly, is that you come off as like a fucking douchebag, or you come off as like an arrogant prick. And like, honestly, I'm not, I try my best not to be, because I'm not, like, I am not a very good guitar player. I am not a very good singer. I am not a very good songwriter. I mostly have just spent enough time watching and listening and enjoying to kind of create my own little tiny world of music. And I have no fucking, in the end of the day, I have no merit. And you could call me a douchebag or arrogant for ranting like this, but I mean, sometimes it's kind of fun to rant about this shit because there's not enough of it. There's not enough fucking ranting or alternative opinions. I really actually, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck if someone's like, oh, a guy thinks he's so sick, eh? Like, guy thinks you can talk about this industry and that industry. Dude, I know so many goddamn amazing musicians that I've met over the years, and they are very successful in industries that they do not even like the fucking music. Yeah. They don't fucking like it at all. They're just good guitar players or good drummers, and they fucking understand. They don't, and then you get the players who try to fucking pretend like they invented it. Like, I've been in this band so long, I know exactly what this big artist was thinking, and that's why we should emulate that. And I'm the leader of this band. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of bullshit like that too, where these guys aren't good enough to just have good chops and do what they're told. They have to try and like make their splash with an artist that's hiring them. They're trying to like make their splash by being very verbal and like being very like creative and like showing their value. And that's cool. You can show your value. You can definitely do that. You can show like, I have an idea that might work for this live show that we're doing or something. But if you can't back it up with your playing, if you can't fucking back it up with years of playing, dude, you are just getting paid to play in this band, okay? You are just getting paid to be my this or that. Like, make sure you're good at that before you start spewing off about what is good or what isn't or who is good. You know what I mean? Like, I'm very passionate about that stuff too. I'm not going to go any further into it because, I'm just an old 31-year-old musician who is just a little tired sometimes of the politics and the bullshit, you know?
Well, yeah, it's the whole hired gun thing, man. Like it's if you're brought on to be a certain way or do a certain task, guess what? Do that and just stop. Like just
stop. Like be professional. Be professional. And know when to say no, know when to say yes, and know when to speak up. Like there are moments where you should and moments when you shouldn't. Like you should give an artist feedback that you're working for if maybe they're being a little too aggressive or maybe they're taking a wrong route. It's good as a seasoned player like me, like I've been playing for years. It's good to tell an artist, hey man, this might not be the best idea. Mm-hmm. But do not take to Instagram just because you played a couple good gigs on some like medium-sized stages. Don't take to Instagram and like start being fucking mouthy and cocky about like other people's gigs or other people's like musicianship and stuff. Like, dude, you literally you are playing someone else's music and they're giving you money. That is what it is. Like, do not try to act like you are like you're some successful. I don't know, man. I've had to learn that shit too over the years, man. I remember being 22, 23, hammered drunk, saying whatever I fucking wanted to people, mouthing off in a room because I did a couple tours. Oh, cool. I did a couple tours. I have an opinion. I know what the best pop band is, and I know the best rock and pop. I know them. I talk to them personally. I know their management. Oh, I did the sick thing with it. Like, I had a moment where I got my foot caught in I ate my socks so many times over where people be like, shut the fuck up, man. You know what I mean? Or they just don't call you again. We've all been through
Exactly,
it.
yeah.
We've all been, well, not we've all. I mean, everyone goes through that I am too slick for my own shoes right now moment when they've played a couple cool gigs. It's premature and it happens to everyone, but it's just how you choose to keep your counsel and earn the respect moving forward after you've kind of got your head up in the clouds as being like the best drummer, the best guitar player in Canada. You know what I mean? And the best professionals now that have been sustainable over the years, the ones who've been playing for 20, 30 years, they're the ones who just kept their cool, didn't say too much, did their job really well, and kept their family and friends close and didn't fucking hop online and try to make 1,000 fucking friends out of everyone and share their, you know, it's the people who keep their counsel and are humble and show humility are the ones that go further in music. And I personally, man, I had to learn that myself when I was younger, because I was a bit of a hothead. I was a bit of I would have verbal diarrhea, and I just had to learn to sometimes just pick my battles, you know, don't say that out loud. I had to learn, we all had to learn. So
it's all a part of growing up, right? And it's all a part of, you know, everyone has a moment when they're like, ah, shit, I just, you know, maybe ruined an opportunity for myself or something because of what I said. And I mean, everyone's been
said
there,
that.
right?
Yeah. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. And then now, you know, nowadays as you get older, it's like you can't bullshit a bullshitter, buddy. That's my thing, is I live by that. Like, don't bullshit me. Like, don't give me your bullshit. At the same time, like, I've learned now, like, when, you know, people come say hi to me, introduce themselves. Hey man, I'm Kyle. I'm literally just a guy that lives in Muskoka and writes music. And I think that that's the most important way to cultivate relationships. It's not like, you know, there was a level of arrogance over the years that I had to seriously put in check. And it's very important that I did that, because I want to have good people around me moving into my 40s, I guess. I'm not saying that I always want to play in a band or always want to be a fucking punk rock guy or whatever. I just want to make sure that, you know, as I get older and slow down a bit and my bones start creaking, that there are people around me that love me and will have my back. And I don't want, you know, you don't want to alienate people, right? It's important.
Oh, fuck yeah, man. It's so important that, I mean, like, I'm kind of in that same boat too now as I get older, where I'm like, you know what? Like, I want good people around me, and I want positive people around me. And I don't want people sitting around going, oh man, you're doing this podcast, or you're putting all this work into this podcast, and what is it getting you? Like, why are you doing it? It's like, no, man, get the fuck out of here. Like,
get the fuck out of here, buddy.
Yeah,
this is what I do.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck you. You can't do what I do. No, you don't say that. You say, this is what I fucking do. Like, this is my DNA, man. Like, this is literally my DNA. I've been playing music since I was a kid. I have grown up inside of an organ. Like, I couldn't even hear church services. I didn't even listen to the pastor. I don't go to fucking church anymore, but I would I would just beat my head against the organ. And I picked up guitar after years of piano, and it's in my fucking DNA, harmony and melody and sounds and derivatives of rhythm and all these things. It's like, it's the only thing I fucking know. And if I can't do it, if I don't know how to do it, I'll have a serious reckoning, like a mental reckoning with with what is my identity, right? And I consider myself a bit of a Viking. Like, I'm a bit of a soldier. Like, I will troop through any type of obstacle as long as I can still play music, whether I make a lot of money or a little, right? And that's probably why the Crease Rule is happening now after I've kind of had, you know, 5 pretty successful years with the business. Why the fuck would I go and start spending money on punk rock that no one's going to listen to? You know what I mean? Just because I love it, and it makes me feel whole. You know, it completes me a little bit.
Yeah, man. I say it all the time. You know, creative people have to create. We can't help it. I say to my fiance all the time, I'm like, man, it's my blessing and my curse myself, where it's like, if I go like more than a couple days without doing something creative, whether it's doing a podcast or writing something down for a podcast or playing guitar, like, I can't help it. I need it to feel whole because it's who I am.
Fuck, man. That's just means so much to hear someone else say that. I gotta be real with you, man. Like, you don't hear enough of that anymore. Everyone is so caught up in how quickly our world moves, man. It moves so fucking quickly, and we are buried in our fucking devices. We are just fucking heads down. We are sitting ducks, man. We are fucking sitting ducks. And I think that you have to be vigilant, and you have to recognize the world around you, and remember, history is important, man. History sets precedents, right? So you need to remember like what we were like before, and maybe be careful for what we're going to be. And I think that as long as you remain vigilant and aware of the world around you, and be creative if you are creative, and if you're not, love people who are, like, just love them for the fact that they're creative. You know, some of the most creative people I've ever met are a little bit fucking batshit crazy, and I think it's awesome. But they live their daily lives full of anxiety and so worried about being different, and so worried about, because society is so fucking robotic now, that the people who are really creative, like our fucking creators, are it's terrifying, man. Like, they're so afraid. They're so afraid of who they are, because I just feel like we are compressed. We are suppressed emotionally. And it's sad to see creative people die, and creative people kill themselves, and creative people whatnot shut up or just move north, or, you know, I don't know. I had to get away from humans. I had too many humans and in such a short amount of time. That's why I bought a house up here, because I needed to figure it out. You know, I need to figure my life out. So
yeah, get the hell out of there and just like
fuck yeah, man. Get the fuck out of Dodge, right?
Yeah, I can get it for sure. I always say, like, I could never move to a big city or anything. Like, I would just go batshit crazy after a week. Like, just I can't. I mean, moving to Peterborough, for God's sakes, was big enough for me. I'm like, okay, I got to deal with people every day I don't know, and it's like, shit, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the funny part about that is, like, I love being in Huntsville now, because now I can have people remember me on my second or third visit. And,
exactly.
And growing up in Bowmanville, I hated that, because it was a fucking hockey town, and high school was just a bunch of fucking glorifying. It was just like, we glorified the athletes, like every small town, and a lot of people got forgotten and fell through the cracks. And it wasn't a very nice place for a lot of people to grow up. I'll admit it. It's like a lot of small towns like that. There were people who fell through the cracks and didn't deserve to fall through the cracks. And a lot of them decide, well, if this place doesn't want me, I'm going to go to a place that might have a couple people that want me. And I think that my mentality as a kid was, I love music so much, and I got to find more like-minded people. I got to get the fuck out of here, and I got to learn and grow and meet different. And that's why I went to the city at such a young age. And I ended up spending my 20s, my late teens, my 20s, and a year of my 30s there. And it just was such a fucked up good experience, that now that I'm up here in Huntsville, back in the quiet, back in the calm down, back in this, I now have just this overall perspective of kind of how the world works in different places. And when I was younger, you don't have those types of perspectives on the world. You're like, okay, I need a job. Okay, I need a car. Okay, I need food. Okay, my dad's mad at me. Okay, I punched a hole in the drywall. You know what I mean? Like, you're worried about just making it work. And you realize, holy fuck, I'm 20. What have I done? Oh my God, my OSAP debt. You know, all these things start to pile up, and you don't have enough time to really have perspective to find happiness. And now, like, you know, now I'm okay to be in a small town. You know, I'm okay to be there. I saw it all. I've seen it all. I'm not at all. Like, I'm not saying that I'm like the most seasoned person in the world, but I've seen a lot of shit. And now I'm like, it's okay. Just go to Huntsville. Like, go to Muskoka. Calm down.
Well, that's it. I mean, talking about growing up in a small town and that, and growing up in Bowmanville, you know, I talked earlier about the fact that I kind of wanted to compare stories a little bit here, just kind of as we get ready to wrap it up here with you.
Fuck yeah.
So
I say fuck a lot, man. I'm sorry, dude.
That's okay. So do I. That's okay. That's okay. This is not there was a brief period of time where I was like, no, the Hotter Show is going to be a G-rated show. That lasted one episode.
Yeah, I don't know.
So
I don't know, bro.
But speaking on that, the Village Inn.
Yep.
Obviously, you guys have a song called The Village.
You do.
Which is, to my understanding, is basically an ode to the Village Inn, correct?
Hell yeah.
Okay. So I used to work just down the street from the Village Inn about 5 years ago.
Okay.
How wonderful is the Village Inn?
It's just such a fucking wild card place to go. It's, you know what I mean? You're getting it all. You're getting one thing, you're getting 100 things there. And it's such a friggin' landmark for interesting people, I'd say.
Oh, for sure.
You know,
they would all wander out of there over to my store. So,
oh, buddy. Oh, yeah, man. You got any fucking Squires? You got any Squires, bro? I think Squire Strats are a good place to start. Yeah, the Village Inn was that place for us growing up, where there was a sick ass open mic, and we were all just barely of age, legal drinking age, and there were a good core of musicians. that all went and drank there and did open mic, showed everyone their songs. There was a huge like folk revival indie thing that happened there. It wasn't my jam, but I would also like, I was a huge Weezer fan. I was a big Pinkerton guy back in the day, so I'd go and play Weezer songs, and it was great, man. Like you know, you have your basic pints, your Mooseheads, you have your Chadwicks, and you have your friggin' Guinness, and it's an Irish pub. And the original owner of the village, John Walsh, he owns the Snug now in Newcastle, which I'm sure you've been to. What a beautiful man. My first legal pint was at the village. He served it to me and my dad, and it was just like crazy, man. Like the village literally is about from my first pint to kind of growing old enough to move out of Bowmanville. Mm-hmm. The village was that place where we'd literally have we'd walk through the creek, Bowmanville Creek, from our houses in Waverly area. We'd have backpacks full of beers right for after last call. We'd hide them in the bush. We'd go into the village, drink pints, do the open mic thing, do whatever, right? And then we'd grab our fucking backpacks and head to whoever's house. It was usually a backpack full of Carling or fucking Pillies or Kokanee or something terrible that was cheap that some drunk guy would buy for us outside of the beer store. And yeah, man, the village was such a staple. It allowed a lot of us to feel it wasn't a place where a lot of the like hockey players and a lot of the guys who, you know, people who just were very class-ish, like they were very like who's cool, who's not. Mm-hmm. It was not a place for that, man. It was just a place of wild cards. It was awesome. And the village is very important. And that the song The Village is a culmination of all of that. And it's an ode to it. And I love it. I love it there, man. I still like popping in. It's still kind of the same place, man. Still the same fucking hangout. And I mean, our age group was pretty wily. I'm sure you probably 4 years ago, you probably caught a pretty wily age group in there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You know, if you know, you know, man. If you know, you know. That patio, I've thrown up in that patio so many times. Like middle of winter, I just go to the closest door and I just happen to be the patio door. I puke all over the ground and whatever, man. Like it was great. It was a great place to learn about, you know, how musicians interact. That was a pretty good place for that, to give you a little basis of that. And then you get a lot of tradesmen, older guys, regulars. It felt like a pub. It felt like a classic small town pub. I mean, there's other bars in Bowmanville. There's other places to drink, and I've been to all of them. But the village has that fucking that art creation, creative staple of people who were kind of like-minded, and we had a lot of fun together. And you know, I'll never forget it. Never forget the village.
Absolutely. It's such a staple in Bowmanville and the people who grew up in that area. And I mean, even me, just, you know, being, you know, working a few buildings down from it, it's like, man, that there was always such a cool group, core people that would hang out there. And, you know, it's such a cool place for sure. And I was super hyped when I saw the village. I'm like, oh fuck yeah, that's good.
I was going to tell you this. I'm not going to give you full details here on the podcast, but we are shooting a music video there.
Oh, really?
And okay. You are very welcome to join.
Oh shit. Okay.
I'll give you some more details later on the location.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, buddy.
That's great.
Bangarang.
Awesome. Fuck yeah.
Bangarang.
The other song that I wanted to touch on here, and kind of some other memory stuff.
Yeah.
Christian school.
Yeah.
What's up with that? What was kind of that whole? You mentioned a little bit about it this whole episode, but
yeah, Christian school. I don't think I've ever felt more insane as a young person than going to grade school and high school, like at a Christian school, 2 Christian schools respectively. It's about my time. It was about my time at Knox and Durham, and I mean, I think that it definitely kept me out of trouble for the most part. Like I got into some trouble as a kid. I was a bit of an angry kid, and Christian school seemed to be the best place for me to go. And I had absolutely zero in common with the community there. I found friends. I did find friends that were willing to put their upbringing aside and just become my friend because they were raised to do that. But then there was also like a giant group of people who were not very accepting of a guy like me who just had complexities and had feelings about this, that, and this. There was a bubble, for sure, a community there, and if you weren't on board with it, you were not accepted. Mm-hmm. So that song, musically, it inspired like 8 different genres in it, and I think that's because of how crazy I felt over that time. I actually felt like it's weird, man. Like from the start to finish, it's 2 minutes of fucking in your face shit with a little "Eye of the Storm" in the middle, which is an acoustic kind of choiry piece. Which the choir, it's funny. There was a lot of choir and musical that occurred there at Knox and Durham. There's a lot of fucking that stuff. Like, I was the musical director for the praise and worship team because it was my only opportunity to have literally time during off the day, like time off during the day to play my instruments. And there were like 15 people singing. And it was like, I'll never forget some of those moments, like how funny that was to sing, you know, to literally sing to Jesus with 15 singers and like make it all work. It was actually a pretty good challenge. We toured a bunch of churches, and I mean, I had that whole experience, and my outlet was the fact that at least I had my guitar on me, or at least I was playing piano, or at least I was playing bass. I didn't necessarily like latch on to it and believe necessarily in it, but it was like, it kept me out of trouble for the most part. But like as a young kid in a Christian school, much different environment. Like the high school is different because I got fucking big in high school. Like, don't fuck with me, buddy. But I got bullied pretty hard in Christian school. Can you believe that? Who the fuck gets bullied in Christian school?
Man.
Yeah, I got
what they're
fucking
like, though,
bullied.
man. It really
I got
is.
The shit
like,
kicked out of me by these, like, I got the shit kicked out of me by fucking farmers. Literally guys who were like calling me the worst fucking names in the book, and then they show up to church on Sunday with their fucking, you know, angry dads, like, sit down in the pew and worship God. You know, I had a bad experience with that, and that song is all about that. And the coolest part about Christian school is that it did kind of give way for me to add some other elements that weren't just like punk rock, skate punk. You know, I don't know if you listened to it a few times over, but there's a breakdown in it. There's an acoustic choir chorus in it. There's straight punk rock in it. There's blast beats. There's a lot of shit. There's shit in it that it's kind of like, what the fuck is he singing about here? Like, what is this? You know what I mean? And that's how I felt about, as a whole. That's how I felt about Christian school. And that song is like the most romantic depiction of my experience. That possibly, it's as close as I can get to how fucking crazy it was.
And it's such a diverse song. And, you know, you talking about like the chorus was what got me, where I'm like, oh shit, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah. Like literally, like that's what it is, right? It leads up to this, like, well, I guess I'm going to Christian school now. Holy fuck, these people are mean. Like, I had better chances in fucking public school. Seriously. At least in public school, there were some people who would be like, hi, this is my name. We should hang out. You know, like I'm not now, like, I got to reiterate this. There are people that I met in Christian school that are still my friends till now. And it's because they had my back. They had my fucking back, and that will go so long with me. For an angry kid who didn't have an identity and had a lot of struggles with people, being thrown into this melting pot, this fucking Bible melting pot, is extremely difficult for any young kid. And I know there's a lot of people that will relate to this song. There are a lot of fucking people that will relate to being thrown into a fucking environmental, emotional melting pot. That's what that song is, man. It just came out of me. It fucking came out of me in an hour. And then I started writing the music parts, and I was like, oh, fuck, like, this is what it was like. I'm like, I feel like I'm 9 again, like 10. It was crazy, man. It was a crazy experience for me, all alone up in Muskoka, writing Christian school.
That's fantastic. That's awesome.
I'm glad you like, man. Like, I'm a little weird. So like, I'm trying not to be too descriptive to make people think I'm off my fucking rocker. I'm not off my rocker. I have it together, people. I have a job. I drive a Dodge Stratus.
That's the benchmark for, I mean, listen, let's be real. You're an older millennial who, well, not older millennial, you're a millennial, I guess at this point, who has a house. So you're doing pretty good. So
I'm doing all right, man. It's not a big house, but yeah, and I have a dog too. Hey, dog.
Oh, fuck. Well, there you go.
Oh yeah. You know, I mean, I need to make sure that I'm okay for when the shit hits the fan. At least I'm up in Muskoka in my quiet house with my dog. So you know what I mean?
When the nuclear plant actually melts down or something.
Yeah, how about that, eh? How about that? Get your iodine pills, everyone. Iodine.
When shit hits the fan, you'll be all right.
Yeah, man. When the shit hits the fan, is you still a fan? Do you remember St. Mary's Cement?
Yes.
Do you remember? Did you ever live close enough for it to rumble your house?
No.
So we lived close enough. We lived in Waverly. It would rumble plates off the shelves every Tuesday, Thursday around 2:00. And if it wasn't Tuesday and Thursday at 12:00, we thought it was the nuclear plant. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh,
So
fuck.
if it wasn't on the St. Mary's schedule, they just decided to do an arbitrary blast on Sunday at 1 p.m. type thing. We're like, oh fuck, everyone like hit the deck. We thought that it was the nuclear plant. We grew up living in like a what the fuck type of it was scary, man. It was weird. It was a weird way to grow up in Bowmanville, man.
Yeah, it's actually funny because my fiance, her family, like they're right on Waverly as well, actually.
Right. There you go. There you go.
We've had conversations about that before too. But where I lived in the boonies of Newcastle, there wasn't nothing like that going on.
No, I mean you could still see it happen though from the
Oh
water
yeah.
line. My dad, my old man, he's a handy motherfucker. He can build anything. He builds engines, houses, whatever. So he saw this house. He got it for a fucking bag of dirt, and he's like, "Wow, I got this house for a bag of dirt." And he completely renovated it. My brother has cerebral palsy. He's in a wheelchair, and my dad renovated it and did put blood, sweat, and tears into this house and turned it into like a quite impressive home, considering if you were to see it when we bought it, for where Bowmanville real estate was at the time. And now they could fucking sell it for $700,000 or $800,000 more than it was bought for, which is pretty crazy. So it's pretty insane, man. Growing up in Bowmanville was just a weird place to grow up. It had a little bit of everything, I tell you, a little bit of everything.
Oh, for sure. So two last things here before we go. One,
no problem, buddy.
You mentioned earlier before we started talking, and it just made me smile. What were your experiences playing any shows at all at JP's? Which, for those of you who are not familiar, JP's was a bar in Newcastle.
Yeah.
That's now is actually Castle John's.
Ew.
Which is a super successful.
What does that even mean, Castle John's?
It's a super successful place now where there's like a whole shitload of them all over. But JP's was such a, oh man, like I was just too young to like really be there for its heyday. But like being a kid growing up in Newcastle, a music kid, I'd always hear about JP's this and JP's that.
Bro, JP's.
What was like some of your favorite memories?
When it was JP's, it was a fucking yard sale. Like you show up, you load in, you have a sound guy. I think I don't even remember. Yeah, you know what I mean. Everyone lines up their equipment in front of each other over and over. Like there was no sharing gear. It was like 3 drum kits in front of each other because every fucking arrogant drummer in Durham Region insisted on playing his own fucking drum kit. There was no you know what I mean. It was pretty funny. Small stage. You load in, right? And then I had my parents had an 88 Bowville. We'd park it right out front, and it was huge, like square van, right? We'd sit in the back and drink beers while we were waiting for the show to start. Show starts, and I swear to God, man, you get people from Bowmanville, Newcastle, Curtis, Oshawa, Coburg, Port Hope, Peterborough. They had all come to JP's to see bands play. It was awesome, man. It was a community. Like it actually felt like a fucking community. And it was especially like right around the era where the Dungeon in Oshawa had its heyday, and then that kind of slowed down a little bit, and it closed down, and it went through some shit. And JP's was just a really good fucking alternative. And I played there with a band called Averidian. We played, like I think I said earlier, 1 Second Too Late, XO Elliott, Autumn Avenue, Goodbye Celebration, Mugshot, lots of bands like that. Protest, I think, might have played a couple shows. No, they never played there with us. Anyways, long story short, it was just a big wide open bar. Like I don't know if they've changed it now, but it was a big wide open place with like shitty plastic tables and one bar on one side. Like it was a ghetto. And the sound system was shit, but it was such an awesome place because the parking lot was huge, and people would drink in the grass beside the place. They'd get their drinking tickets. My buddy got a drinking ticket almost every time he came to one of our shows, like $160 or whatever it was. You just drink in circles during, before, after. We had Battle of the Bands there. And yeah, I actually, a lot of my fondest girlfriend memories were from JP's. Like you break up with your girlfriend, right? And then you're like, oh man, like I hope I see her at the show. And then she's at the show and you're like, oh, hey, you're here. Oh no, she's with this other guy. Oh, look how angry he is. She's looking at me the whole time. This is crazy. Maybe she still wants to be with me. Oh, look, they're fighting. Oh, he's jealous. Oh my God, this dude just bottled me. You know what I mean? Like we went through some shit, man. There were some angry motherfuckers that I had to deal with that didn't like the fact that we weren't even a good band. We were a mess. I couldn't sing. We had Marshall stacks we didn't know how to use, but we were in a band. It was great. And like the guys that, a lot of the girlfriends that I broke up with, that in Durham Region, like that broke up with me, whatever, they went for the polar opposite. They went for like guys who were like, I don't fucking know. I'm not going to start classifying people right now, but they went for different people with different interests. And then they think, oh, there's a show that all my friends are going to because we always go to this show. Do you want to come with me? It'll totally make my ex jealous. Oh, by the way, he plays in that band. Yeah, we're going to JP's. Next thing you know, like, you know what I mean? Like, it was just, next thing you know, you get these hilarious before and after situations alongside playing a killer set with a bunch of people, a bunch of kids. It was so sick, man. Like, it was just I'll never forget the JP's era of my life. And then they changed it to We Gets. And then it was kind of still okay, but nothing was like JP's.
That's
Bro,
funny,
I'm so
man.
glad you brought that up, man. I'm so glad you brought that up. Like, you know what I mean? It was so Newcastle was so important to me too. The waterfront, the just past the pier, you know, you could have romantic conversations or fights or arguments with your girlfriends, like down by the water, breakups. Like, what are we? I don't know what we are. I have to go. Like, don't go. The moon is out. Like, Newcastle, bro. Fuck. I miss those days. Don't even get me started. I could talk for another hour about Peterborough, but we should probably save that for another episode.
Yeah. Oh, dude, for sure we will. 100%.
Start on Peterborough. Bro.
Oh man, Jesus. Yeah, we'll have to just get together for some beers sometime and do another pod, and we'll just shoot shit about Peterborough and stuff.
I'm just glad that I made it through my teens, like. And I didn't die in a ditch. Like, I belonged in a ditch somewhere with my shenanigans. Like, I'm happy that I'm 31 and I made it out, you know, like fucking Durham Region, Clarington, man, great place to fucking not survive. And that's like, everyone will attest how crazy it is growing up in Durham Region with just the small townships and the weird, complex amounts of people and disagreements and athletes and musicians, whatever. It's a crazy place, man.
Absolutely. We'll just have to do like an episode all about Durham Region. That'd be fantastic. Yeah. But last thing here before we go, man, and I do appreciate you taking the time. What is, and this is kind of a staple question I always ask people, what is either your favorite show you've ever played or like the most embarrassing, worst on stage or tour story you have?
Oh, actually, I have a pretty good story. This is not a tour story. I mean, okay, this is actually a cover band story, and it's the most embarrassing story of my life. But it's not like it's okay. So I'm playing this cover band, and it usually has. This is when I was younger. This is when I first started playing, and it usually has this one singer, and we're a team, right? It used to be my buddies, and then it literally one show, our singer couldn't make it, and I'm like, that's fine. We had this other guy come in, step up and say he wanted to do the singing and do all the same stuff that we did. Same songs, same everything, right? And we get to the end of the night. It's been a great night. There's this like girl that's kind of been talking to me and I liked her a lot and she liked me. No. And it comes time to like kind of play one of the last songs of the night. We're playing fucking Wonderwall. Okay. We're playing.
Of course. Well, yeah. What else would you play?
Of course. Fucking Wonderwall.
Anyway, here's Wonderwall.
I've already checked out. Like, I'm drinking, playing with one hand, like everyone's hammered, not a big deal. But what we do at the end of the night is we when we get to the final part of Wonderwall, it's like na 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 na. We would all sing it together, right? We would all sing it together, and like we're getting to that part, and it's kind of the funnest part of the song because I would go up to the mic and be like na 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 during Wonderwall, okay? And it's like kind of what we do at the end of the night. And this is like such a memorable moment. This singer sees me go up to the mic, okay? And he shoves my face away from the mic and he puts his foot up on the monitor and he puts all of his drive pedals on and starts ripping this like fucking 80s Jack Black in School rock solo. And I'm like, huh? And everyone is equivocally looking at each other like, oh my God, like this guy thinks that he's playing in the Air Canada Centre right now. Like that's what we called it at the time. Like, who the fuck does this guy think he is? And he just shredded this solo for like, I don't know, however long, but he literally made contact with my fucking face as I was singing a Wonderwall portion that we always did like routine, and literally he told me with his hand on my face, sweaty hand, no, do not do that. I am now going to play this Jack Black guitar solo. And I got to tell you, man, if you were to catch this on video, you would be like, this guy is so up his own ass. This guy is a fucking self-centered piece of shit. But the story is so funny to go back to because everyone I tell the story to, they're just like, no, I don't believe, like, that's fucking stupid. Like, and I'll never forget that day. Like, that resonated with me the rest of my life. Like, I'll never forget that story where it's like, some people have been raised and told that you are the best musician, you are the best, you are the star, you are the star. And their parents just raise them, you are a star, and don't give them any other practical life experience. And then you get them in a social experiment or a social environment, and there's alcohol involved and stuff, and they literally think they're a star. And that's my one story. It was embarrassing to have my face pushed away, one, and it was more embarrassing for that guy to do Jack Black shit right after he pushed my face away in a small bar, like with like maybe like 50 to 100 people, not even, and everyone was drunk, and like no one really cared. And it was like, I'll never forget that moment, man. That's my one moment that I'll never forget.
And you're playing Wonderwall too.
Yeah.
Like,
and I'm talking about 15 to 20 years of music experience. We did gigs, touring, venues, sound guys, techs, hotels, trashing hotels, girls, drugs, alcohol. I go right back to this moment where nobody fucking cared who we were, knew who we were, and this fucking idiot pushed my face away from a microphone so he could play an 80s style metal solo like Jack Black, like fucking like rolling around on the ground to Wonderwall. Like, what the fuck?
It's
anyway,
like, of all the things,
all the fucking things you could have done,
great.
You had to show off at the end of the night too and make yourself look like a wank. Anyways, that's my story. That's my fucking ultimate like tour story, or ultimate like playing shows story. I'm a terrible guy.
Nah, man, that's fantastic. That's fucking great.
Yeah,
I just picture some idiot just like, it's like, what the fuck is this guy doing?
Fuck is this guy doing? Are you fucking kidding me? Yeah, man.
That's fucking great. All right, man. Well, it's been an absolute fucking pleasure to have you on the show, man.
Oh, dude, you know what? Thanks, man. I'll be realistic. This is the first time that in my life that someone has wanted to sit down and talk to me about music. It's kind of cool, man. So.
Well, and it's been so much fun, and I feel like there's so much we didn't even really scratch the surface on. So we'll definitely have to. And I mean, we've been going for 2 hours, so it's like I still feel like there's so much we didn't even scratch the surface on. So we'll have to definitely do this again. But where can people find the Crease Rule if they want to check you guys out?
So you can find us on Spotify, Apple Music, Google Play, Amazon. Just search The Crease Rule. The Crease Rule. And then we are on Instagram at thecreaserule.to, Toronto, .to, at thecreaserule.to. And then we're on Twitter as The Crease Rule. We're on the Facebook as The Crease Rule. Literally, we're on almost everything. Oh, we're on Bandcamp now. I decided to do a Bandcamp because there's been a few people that are like, hey, man, do you have a Bandcamp? I'm like, no. And I'm like, oh, yeah, Bandcamp. Like, that is a fucking punk rock thing to do. Have a Bandcamp. So now I have a Bandcamp. So we are on the Bandcamp as The Crease Rule. And the long and the short of it is, if you type in The Crease Rule, you'll either get a picture of Brett Hull or you'll get us. Great.
It's one of the two. There's no in between.
Literally. There's no in between. Nope.
That's great.
Thanks, man. I appreciate your time, man. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, man, absolutely. We'll definitely be talking to you again soon. Thanks a lot, brother.
No problem. Cheers.
All right, gang, there you have it. My chat with Kyle Hohmann of the Crease Rule. Hope that you guys enjoyed that chat as much as I did. Man, that was just absolutely freaking fantastic. I loved it. Be sure, again, to check out the Crease Rule on all the social medias that he gave, as well as down below in the link. I will make sure I link all of their social medias as well as their website. And they got some more stuff cooking, like you heard Kyle say, so that's very exciting, and I'll be sure to keep you guys posted. And you can bet your bottom dollar that you will see Mr. Hohmann back on the Harder Show again for sure sometime this year. I'm sure he will make an appearance as well, because that was just fantastic. I love interviews like that where I can just really just let the person tell their story and shoot the shit with them. That's just what this is all about, folks. And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit that subscribe button, leave a follow, leave a like, comment, and let me know what you thought of the episode. Or you can also hit me up on any of the social medias. We have Facebook and Instagram. I do also have Twitter, but I don't really use it, so I would just avoid that. You can also check us out on the web at podbeardnetwork.com/The Harder Show. I would love to hear from you guys. I always love to hear feedback from you and what you think of the episodes and things of that nature. And I know that you guys are going to enjoy the hell out of this episode. And we're in an interesting point with the show right now, because the show is still growing. and it's fantastic. And, you guys listening to the episodes is so important, and, subscribing to the show on however platforms you're listening. We've been having a lot of people on Stitcher lately, so that's very cool. So big shout outs to whoever's listening in on Stitcher. And I've got someone from, and it's interesting that I know this, but I've got someone from, I believe it's Mountain View, California, I think, or I don't even know if that's a real place. I don't know, but Mountain View, somewhere in the States. I can't tell exactly what state it's in, which is really interesting how the statistics work. But if you're listening to this right now for some reason, thank you, because you've been binging like every episode of The Harder Show for the last month. So thank you very much, my man or ma'am, for all the support. And you listening right now, thank you so much for all the support. It means the world to me. I do apologize again about the audio quality of the intro and outro here. I don't know what's going to happen for next week. I'm just going to say that right now. I have no idea. It was a stretch making this episode happen the way it did. Getting it edited and everything using my old laptop, which, thankfully still freaking kind of sort of works. So we were able to make it happen, but it was... it was challenging. So I'm not sure what's going to happen next week. I might need to take a week off while I figure out my Mac situation. Hopefully it's not actually dead, but I don't know. It seems pretty dead to me. I don't know what happened, but we'll figure it out. Worst case scenario, I might just have to wing it. I don't know, man. We'll see. I'll keep you guys posted though. And if you are maybe looking to help out the show a little bit more, excuse me, aside from just listening, and you want to help me out in situations where, I need to spend money on fixing a computer or buying a new goddamn computer, you can do so by going on the Patreon. That's right, the Patreon. Patreon.com/The Harder Show. It's so easy. And when you go on there, you can check out all of the tiers that I have that you can subscribe to for a very low monthly fee. You won't even notice they're going, man. Seriously. I've been told that in the past, and it's like, wait, I'm subscribed to your Patreon? Holy crap. I've been missing all this stuff because it's, we have the $1 tier, which will get you access to all the behind-the-scenes stuff, as well as personalized shout-outs every single week here on the show, which I'll be doing in just a moment. We also have a $5 tier. We'll get you access to some bonus content that I do just for my Patreon. I have a special commuter podcast. That's all I'm going to say about it that I do at least once a month on the Patreon. I also have this fun Harder Show studio sessions that I do. Just basically me bullshitting while I'm editing the show. And I've only done one of those so far, but it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. So that's some of the bonus content you get. You also get a discount on merch in the $5 tier. So any merch I have or any, merchy type stuff, doesn't matter if it's stickers or hats or t-shirts or whatever the hell. And I am still working on that. Like I said, I've said in the past, the last few weeks, I believe I found the place. Just had to get through Christmas and recover from Christmas. And I'm going to actually probably next week, I'm going to go try out at least one shirt for now and see if I like it and how it holds up. And we'll go from there. We also do have the $10 tier, which is a big step up. You will get everything that I have mentioned, as well as you will get free merchandise. That's right, free merchandise. I will just send you stuff, no questions asked. If you subscribe to the $10 a month tier, I will send you a t-shirt absolutely free. I don't care. I'll send it to you. And man, let me tell you, the shirts are probably going to be about $30 a pop. So if you look at it in the grand scheme of things, you're getting a t-shirt a month, basically. For over the course of 3 months anyway. I'm not going to send you a free t-shirt every single month, but any merch that I come out with, you will get for free. I'll even ship it to you. No questions asked, because that's how much I appreciate you guys doing the $10 tier. And if you're someone who has a service or a business you want to advertise on The Harder Show, you do have the option to do so in the $20 tier. That's right, the $20 tier. You'll get a personalized ad read like I do for Jay Bridges Alerts. I'll work with you to script it if you so choose, or I can just kind of go free will off the top of my head, or we can also do an actual ad. I do know people to make that happen, an actual professional ad like you would hear on the radio, on The Harder Show every single week. Seriously, what's not to like? Not to mention I will promote you on social media as well. We have a very loyal following here on The Harder Show, and people really do listen to what I have to say when it comes to services and brands. And if you think that your brand or service would be perfect for the show and want someone like me to advertise it for you, hit me up right now. We'll work something out. And if you do it for 1 month and you decide, you know what, I don't know if this is for me, no hard feelings at all. As a sign of good faith that you did the 1 month, I will advertise you for a second month absolutely free, no extra charge, just as a sign of good faith and a thank you for supporting the show. So we got the $1, $5, $10, $20. Think about it. If you want to take that extra step, I do seriously appreciate it. So I say if I need to buy a new freaking computer, let's not talk about that right now, because I need to give shout outs to my hotheads, my Patreon subscribers. Of course, we have my boy Scotty, who is, man, I've known Scotty a long goddamn time, and he's always been a big supporter of the show. And just one of the best all-around dudes out there. And if you're in the Durham Region or Clarington area, which, you know, there's a good chance you might be if you listen to this episode, and you are in need of some window cleaning or some gutter cleaning or some power washing done, or maybe you still have some Christmas lights up that you just, man, I don't want to take this shit down myself, hit up my boy Scott at Suds Window Cleaning. That's right, Suds Window Cleaning. You'll find them all over. Just Google Suds Window Cleaning Clarington. Even Google that and you will find him. I can vouch that he's the best. You're not going to find anyone better than Scott, man. He is a badass with what he does, and all around a great dude. So you always want to support people who are awesome. So again, Suds Window Cleaning. He'll take care of you, folks. My boy Scotty, who is one of my hotheads, my Patreon subscribers. And then, of course, we have my man, Will, from the premier punk band Rolls Royce out of Toronto, Ontario, Canada. If you're not familiar with Rolls Royce, what the hell are you doing? Stop what you're doing. Turn off this show. Who gives a shit about the Harder Show? Go on Spotify right now or on Apple Music or Google Play or whatever and check out Rolls Royce. The spelling of that is R-A-W-L-S, Royce, R-O-Y-C-E. And you will find, my God, these guys are freaking amazing. They're just badass, man. I can't say enough great things about Rolls Royce. Great people. Will's been on the show as well a couple times. And they got something cooking. A new offering coming up very soon. And I'm not going to tell you anything about it. You got to go check them out on social media. Just go check out Rolls Royce. Just search it on Facebook and they'll pop up. They're the only ones out there. So they will for sure pop up. I'm very excited about that release. And you can bet you a bottom dollar that we're going to hear from the boys on the Harder Show coming up soon, whenever they do have that release scheduled. And let's say it's one of the best covers I've ever seen. Just amazing cover. Go on their social media right now and check it out. Again, that's R-A-W-L-S, Rolls Royce, R-O-Y-C-E. Check them out, Rolls Royce. My man, Will, always been a great dude. So thank you, my man, for the support. It is appreciated. And if you want shout-outs like that for you or your band or your business or whatever, or just a personalized shout-out like that, and I can talk about how awesome you are, then go on the Patreon, man. All it takes is the $1 tier to get a shout out like that. And obviously the $20 tier for the advertising is completely different from that. You'll either get it at the beginning of the show, the end of the show, or the middle of the show, an actual full, at least 1 minute read or, something of that nature. We'll work it out. But if you just want personalized shout outs like that as well, we can do that here for you, because I appreciate you guys supporting the show. Especially financially, man, it really does help a lot. But I've been rambling on for way too goddamn long here, so I'm gonna sign off. Thank you so much for listening. Virtual fist bump or audio fist bump. I would say virtual. I don't know why. Anyway, I'm rambling on. Y'all have yourself a fantastic rest of your day, and I will hopefully see you next week on the Harder Show. Take it easy, guys.